Hi guys, thank you very much for joining me. Paulina talking to you about your incredible month of May. And may it be as beautiful as it can be at the end. I'm joking. Okay, so Paulina here talking to you about your beautiful May, and we are now at the end of April. We are facing a full moon conjunction with Jupiter and Scorpio. It is beautiful. So May starts on a similar note, and we have in the sky 3 retrogrades now, plus we got Vesta going into retrograde this month as well. So the retrogrades are Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto. So we are really going backwards, we're going back in time, we are trying to get things done differently. Capricorn, stellium, not interesting, not funny unless you're prepared to work. So what is it that I feel we might need to work things out on the level of in May? So it feels to me that yes, it is a social year, and yes, I've had a few people say, but May is going to be exciting, you know, April is not easy, you know, but May is going to be something fast moving, yes, but it has got to go into the direction of work or sequence or continuum. So we're not really here making a new story anymore. We are just spinning on one spot, or we are creating something that we are now going to cherish more, or we're going to make sure that we don't make the previous mistakes again. And I feel that if you are not interested in working things out, and if you don't want to do things the long way, or if you aren't prepared to put in the hard yards, it feels to me that May could be just enough. The new energetic escrow is set, and we are now in Taurus, confining, defining, refining anew. So what are you doing? What are you doing? It is very important to see what you are actually doing, how much freedom and how much praise you have received in April, what is going to continue. So if you are like me and you've pushed yourself a little bit, perhaps even too much into the new vicinity of weird, or into the new vicinity of self-expression, or the new vicinity of self-love or self-connection, perhaps by May you might already see where it's all going. So now it's just about traveling the little road. It is not really that easy to continue on track without reevaluation. It is not really that easy to just let go and to fly. It isn't really about the senses this time either. So you know how sometimes we develop certain parts of ourselves, and here in this sequence it is not the senses. I do not believe that Taurus is asking us to really develop our inner woman, you know, our sensual nature as it usually does. I feel this is actually about, right, okay, we got to stop and we've got to think about what we're doing, and we've got to start things anew. Also, the thing about Taurus facing Uranus the way that it is that not all of us can see it, but there is a big change. Okay, not all of us can detect it, but there is something going on. This is a behind the scenes energy. Do we really care for it? You know, do we really care for this energy? Sometimes not. Sometimes occasionally it can be really, really tormenting and difficult and even different to know that there is something going on behind you, not in front of you. So yes, it is behind the scenes, it is under the radar type of stuff. We've also got Mercury going into Taurus, so we aren't the brightest stars at the moment. We aren't really able to perhaps really detect or really understand what's what, and that is not okay to scrutinize. Occasionally we have our blinders on. We had them on for a little while since Aries, so we weren't meant to see, we weren't meant to peek and see what was going on in between the lines, in between people, between reality or between possibility. We were meant to be in a sense silent or still, it feels as well. As we were here in April, we were meant not to really peak, we were just meant to protrude and project as we were anyway. But it feels to me when Taurus comes around, as it did, and it will be in May, about just touching base, just making sure, just putting all the right things into the right boxes, creating a fresh perspective, following facts, going to the doctor, giving yourself a new incentive, reclaiming your situation, understanding what is for you, understanding why are you not asking for more, perhaps receiving more, understanding where you fit, giving back in the right place at the right time, getting all your numbers correct, receiving more from sources that are for you, relating to income in a more proud and contemplative way, receiving more perhaps interesting opportunities that do make chronological sense with your timeline. There is a space and time sort of a feeling here. We have got to really give our best to what does fit our space and time correctly. We have to make sure that we are not fooling ourselves. We have to make sure that we are not gorgeous for somebody and then they use us as a prop or a toy and then we are forgotten. It is very easy here to be a lamb to the slaughter, as Taurus always has a very sensitive side. We don't need your, how can I say, input into things where there is no light for you. So having a look at how you're spending this time, we're consolidating, we're signifying, we are creating situations of meaning, and we are becoming perhaps a little bit more in control of who we were, and the places where we were in the past are becoming yours, you know, they're becoming obvious. Perhaps now we can marry up all the different facts. Hopefully we're not blushing about our 20s, we're not blushing about our teens. Hopefully here we can now understand why things happen how they did, and then on a larger scale, this is not about just you, this is about the whole world and how it all puts itself together. So trying very hard perhaps to stay vulnerable and become more and more so more feeling more vulnerable and more unique and innocent, but in the same sense, not to shun away from the fact that you've had a long life and all the different facts that it has brought. So this is a big wake-up call for me perhaps, and for a few other people, to have a look at what their body is doing, what their body has done through the years, what is going on inside, how you might want to adjust your diet, how you might want to exercise or not, what would you like to do, are you getting enough sun, do you have enough rest in your life, getting all these things together, putting all of the facts together, remembering perhaps hereditary disorders, remembering anything to do with health and wellness, remembering all things to do with your unique situation and why you are the way you are, and not turning back and asking somebody else, hey, do you think I'm okay? Do you think I'm okay? Because sometimes during this type of time, people don't know if you're okay. People only know if they're okay. They're all centered on something. We're focusing on something else perhaps that is not you, and that's okay, you know, because everybody's got a lot of work to do during this month of May, and that's okay. And the most proudest and importantest thing that I feel will happen by the end of May is that we get it. We just get it. We understand it, and we bring it all down. We bring it all down. Not easy, yeah? So Vesta's going retrograde during May as well. We've got a full moon at the end of May as well. And look at this incredible trine between Neptune, Jupiter and Venus. We definitely have Uranus going into Taurus. We've got Sun conjunct Mercury, it all caught up. Can you see? So as we were talking earlier about what's going to go on, as the mind will not quite expand, we just have to do this. Just don't worry, just do this. It's okay. If you cannot see, just put all the facts together during May, and you have to inch forward, inch forward, inch forward, and make sure that you are diligent, and make sure that you're truthful, and that you are also keeping yourself young and innocent and connected to yourself, and not trying to be hard-nosed and big, because sometimes we can't see, we don't understand what it all means. And then when May comes to an end, you can probably discover a lot more for yourself, because I know, by the 25th of May, you know, and it could be very difficult perhaps later not to know. What I mean is, sometimes there's certain types of relationships, there's certain types of situations, there's certain types of jobs as well, there's certain types of things that don't quite mean it, that don't make sense, you know, they don't quite connect until later. You know, it doesn't really release the biggest portion of meaning till maybe sometimes it is too late, or sometimes it is just late enough to see. And this is where the seedling really grows. So you've planted your seeds, okay, you've watered them, you know, you made the earth beautiful, you didn't even know what you were planting perhaps half the time. And here we have to just put in the work, and no matter if it's going to be a pumpkin or a cabbage or a rose garden, we just have to put in the work. We just have to turn the soil a little bit, you know, we have to like spruce it up, we got to give it something to eat, you know, we've got to make sure that the seedlings don't dry up when it's sunny and they don't get flooded in the rain. This is what we're doing basically this May until the end, and by the 25th of May you will see, I had pumpkins growing here all along, or it was all a rose garden and I thought it was weeds, okay? So you do not probably see your value until the last few days of May. You may not quite understand who you've been all your life until those days. Okay? You might not see the full context of who you are to these people or this situation or anything like that. But as you are taken further, and inertia had to be developed already in Aries, as you are taken further and further and further, you are led along. Accept it, just it's okay, it's the truth. We're all slightly led along somewhere, and you're walking into some kind of circumstance, and then by the end of May there could be a cuddle in that circumstance, or there could be a situation of decomposition, very fast decomposition, or it could be a situation of gratitude. There could be some kind of not just closure, but a eureka by the end of May if you are caring, and if you're careful, and if you're slowly using your time correctly in May, because we don't know. Everybody can see something, everybody can see. Unconscious work is fine, unconsciously channeled info is fine, but in terms of really getting your head around it and knowing and strategically understanding and being in fear, especially of the future or of the past, is not going to give you anything. It's not going to tell you the best stories. But also here we've got Venus opposing a stellium in Capricorn, so Cancer Venus at the end of the month. So consider your inner wonder, your inner glow. Cancer Venus, beautiful. You know, we are really considering by the end of May this very interesting, superb feeling of speciality and status, and perhaps consistency of self, creativity of our spirit, you know, the creativity, the creation of nature, hopefully, and the creativity of God, the universe, and everything beyond and below. This is a very perhaps silly sign to have Venus as well, as it is just fragile, and it wants, I want is the energy of Venus here, and it is opposing this incredible hard-nosed, assertive and accomplished by then stellium in Capricorn. So it feels to me also as Moon drifts in and Mars drifts out by the end, we are going. So it feels to me that there's a chance that a part of you will be leaving. Maybe people are facing your work, or perhaps they won't. There's going to be, how I said before, shuffling of feet. So the group and the choices of the group are going to probably form us differently, and there's going to be greater choices made. Perhaps you weren't part of a certain circle, perhaps you will be part of a circle somewhere else. You might understand where you do not need to be, and how you do want to perhaps be in the future. You will now perhaps see by the end of May what it was about you that never fit, or what it is about them that never could. And there might be also a little bit of fire and a little bit of feist, but I would probably suggest trying to keep it down, because as we're going into the year, you might not like it, but those groups that have been there, or these support systems, as we are in a dog year, might outlast other ones that are coming through. And the question is not, are you here for a reason, or are you here for a season, are you here forever, or you're just here to tease me? That's not the question. It is really important not to burn down bridges, but in the same sense not to fall in love with the situation, because sometimes it could stay around for longer than you, and you don't want that. So it is very important to keep your eye on your interests, Okay, so to keep your eye on your interests, but at the same time to have an open enough heart to include more people in your life and things like that. So we've got this actually really interesting part of the sky where Uranus is right now. In my field, to my feelings, this feels that we are reaching out towards the impossible for some, or we are reaching below, way below the mark. Okay, so you can too probably see that there is a part of you that is reaching towards the impossible, and then there's another part that is going kind of way below where it should be. But don't worry, because as we swing into Taurus with Uranus, we're going to really find out what matters and what mattered most when we forgot that it did. So things are going to start restructuring there. If we look at this interesting part of the sky between Taurus and Gemini, at the beginning of Gemini as well, we are crossing many stars that are to do with wealth, finance, gorgeous things, hospitality, beauty, connection, media, magic, and trust. And what is just given to you for free, or just made for you, made to order, made just especially to please your senses. So I'm actually very excited about this time. Mercury is going to cross over by the end of the month. We're going to see and feel gorgeous, and Venus has already crossed that part. So the feeling of feelings is going to change. The feeling of how you are able to concentrate how you pour yourself out. If you're a speaker, if you're a public person, if you're an actress, if you are an actor, if you are somebody who is reminding yourself of who you are through how you are in the world, of how you come across, or what you're comfortable with expressing or explaining, that is going to change. And it feels to me that perhaps for some of us it is a transformational time, for anybody who puts themselves out there, for artists and for people who are practical alike. But this is actually a very, very interesting time to spruce, not just to you, but to spruce and really streamline who you are. And I've always said this, and I have been saying this to a lot of people that don't really have enough energetic capacity and focus to get what they want. Streamline who you are. You don't need a big wardrobe. You don't need to have a huge resume. You do not need to have a huge bunch of friends to redefine who you've been, or to make you complete task. It is not so much about the variety of places where you go. It is about the quality of experiences that you have, and it is not really about who you are on the outside to another. It is more about who you feel like you are inside, and everything like that. So it is quality, and also a neat understanding of where you've been, and not to bash yourself and not to throw away who you are, because sometimes there's very neat and very serene and very, very strong experiences in your past that can sometimes not even be recreated, and sometimes that brings a tear to the eye. But we have got to, I feel, really now spruce, rediscover and prepare, because it feels to me that opportunities are aplenty in this type of sky. But unfortunately, occasionally, they are not completely for you. That's quite interesting as well. They're not completely for you. And for other people who have done a lot of work and karma clear, sometimes what can happen during these types of shifts is that you're not for those opportunities. And that means sometimes you can say no, and you can walk away, and you walk into something better. You say no, you walk away, and you walk into something greater. You say no, you walk away, you go into something bigger. But that is only for you if you are unbound and if you are scouted. For the people that are not scouted, and we're sort of like, sitting there, not sure as to where we are, very nice to get to work. So thank you very much. For those ones who are free and you're just walking through, there's always something for everyone. There's always something for everyone to perfect during this type of month. So have a look at what is important for you and how you'd like to make it. So very, very nice to see you guys. Thank you very much for connecting with me over May. And I will now get started on each sign. If you're not sure how to use this video, please just go into the caption section. That should be either on the side or below the video. Find your Western astrology sign. It could be the Ascendant sign, it could be the Moon sign or the Sun sign. And I also encourage people to have a look at your stellium and clusters. So say if you've got a few planets in Capricorn or a few planets in Pisces, having a look is always worth it at the stellium, because that can help a lot. And yes, if you would like to know more about me or my work, I do astrology in a very special way. It is perhaps very mysterious. I don't really look at the signs from a learned perspective. They get shown to me, so everything sort of is, in a sense, very serendipitous and very free. It's channeled astrology. It's more reliant on psychic and energetic perspective rather than on anything learned, anything book smart, or anything too crammed in there. So there's nothing crammed in. I'm just flowing through these information cycles. And if you would like to book a reading, you may. And yes, if you would like to donate, there's also a donate button. But if you want to know, actually, yes, I'm putting out books. So I've written 3 that I've published so far, and I've just put another one out, and it's called The Dreamer, and it is a tarot immersion. So this is my latest book. It is about young love. It is about romance. It is about unconscious connection in the astral between 2 souls, and then all the different situations that are happening between them because they haven't yet found their feet and their reality. And there's just a lot of coincidence, and I show how dream time works and how synchronicity takes place unconsciously. But it also is about the tarot, it's about the higher arcana. So it is not a biggest version of me. Like, this is not the biggest I guess part of my journey. Is something that I've learned, and I've dedicated it to a couple of friends of mine. So this is just a very personal book. If you are someone who just likes to spend time in nature, if you're somebody who just enjoys, or you study astrology, you study numerology, you want to know a little bit more about tarot, there is a very interesting alternative perspective on the tarot, which is not dogmatic and it's not in the Torah itself. So if you want to know more about me, about this book, about how things are, how I do, let me know. So yes, have a look at your sign, and I will see you next time. Hi Aries, thank you very much for seeing me. Paulina here, talking to you about your incredible month of May. Oh dear, Aries. Okay, so we have a little bit of a problem on our hands if you don't like it. You have been called, and sometimes, these times arise where you're called to make some decisions, when you're asked to do some great things and you were wanted to do a few things that you perhaps were not quite knowing if you should or shouldn't do, but you did them, and perhaps, if you weren't sure and you were called and you got employed or you got asked, the work was up to you, not them. So Arian people, you really do have a lot of power. And yes, Aries, you do have a very, very serious situation on your hands if you don't like what you did. But if you do, and you're feeling excited, and maybe some of you are even like rubbing your hands together thinking, all right, excellent, I've done a lot of work and I have tried and I have made a big progress, and I have really torn myself apart a little bit during this dimension, during this month of April, and I've wanted to really, really get myself into this new form, or I wanted to really succumb into this new frontier. I really, really wish to be somewhere else, and I really, really wanted to be new, and this is something that I feel will bear results. Don't look at it yet. So sometimes this is the really, really tricky thing here. If you are waiting, so for example, if you have submitted your work and you're doing this and you're thinking, I'm going to get this, or I want them to tell me straight away what happens, that's not going to be that good for you. But if you can just let it go, and if you can concentrate on something else or something more important, have a look at the chronological line of your life. We have a lot of life-changing gifts and abilities coming to you during this month. We have a lot of situations opening for you this month. We have many, many people facing your worth and your purpose, but you have to start putting your energy elsewhere, because occasionally, Aries, you can burn out, and you can also burn another person if you are not easy inside, if you don't feel easy and satisfied. So how to take your previous steps to the limit, work them out. If you don't know, if you are very eclectic with your steps in April, as you perhaps should have been, if you really made a few different, perhaps what even might to another feel like mistake if you made lots of mistakes, or if you made lots of moves, or if you made lots of different types of situations, if there was a flurry of activity during April and you are here in May, you're not quite sure as to how to take it, do not worry. So basically you have had a chronological experience just like everybody else. If you can check it out and have a look as to how your chronological experience has shaped you, what you got out of it, what you wanted to see within it, what you tried to create or recreate in your life, and what you were for other people throughout space and time. It's just such a nice idea to spruce up what is needed. For example, you have a house, you love your children, you've got a mom, why not start a garden? Why not do something practical for them? If you have got a lot of things that you write online, if you blog or if you write, it's such a nice time to discontinue those discussions that are not working, having a look at your, I suppose, popularity if you are an online worker, taking a look at your sales, giving perhaps more time to those things that are lucrative and less to those that aren't. And it is very hard sometimes for us people with any Aryan aspect, because sometimes we've got a love child with our job, and we don't really want to see past that. So really take advantage of this particular month and this year as well, as you can really grow yourself. But if you are not willing to grow, and you're one of those people who are very staunch and you're standing by your cause, even though not anybody, nobody can really see it, by this time of the year people should, and you shouldn't be shy about saying things about it. So if you're getting lots of negative feedback about something, or if you got no feedback if you've done something and you're not sure, don't worry about it. So basically you don't need to push yourself forward in a cause that doesn't stand, or you don't have to make something of yourself that doesn't really work. The most important thing I feel about May actually is not this. It is a fear of friendship that can come over Aries sometimes when they've done their dash. And that's not too bad, but it is not okay to fear, to worry. If you are able, include yourself in anything that is consistent, connective, and related to something else. Work-related parties are really good during this time. Anything to do with friends and family that has got to do with work, working together, doing things as one. Also, as well as any group activity on the front of spirituality, actually for you is okay during this time. But also not to worry about it if it doesn't make sense. If you have been brought up in a church, for example, or a community of a special spiritual religious practice or background, you might want to revisit that. So if you are somebody who wants to find their roots and wishes to suddenly find a place to curl up and feel safe, that is awesome, and that is not too bad for you. But unfortunately for some Aryan people, if you are somebody who doesn't usually get it, that sometimes the time is now. Okay, if you are somebody that usually doesn't quite understand that unless you put all the chips in today, you will not get a result. If you're not somebody who steps out and tries, if you're not somebody who radiates when there is a window for that energy, with May comes a strangeness, and with May may come a situation where you are not pushy, but people think you are, and they ask, why are you so angry all the time? Like, what's going on? And occasionally what this means is that you haven't quite burnt out those candles in April, and in May you might be wishing that they did burn out, because sometimes there's like an inner angst which can come through, which is why it is really, really sometimes silly of Aries. It's really, really even silly of me, as I got some Aryan energies, to save energy and to try not to show up and to try and plan things and to try and make sure that you're not putting your steps wrong when you just asked to act. And sometimes, Aries, you don't have to make things perfect. There is this certain sort of a inertia type of window where you actually usually asked to just go for it. And quite often people will applaud or say, yeah, okay, cool, they'll watch you. And it doesn't sometimes matter if you get the words right. And occasionally it doesn't really have anything to do with us people, but yet we watch. So there were a lot of these windows, and you were asked just to be yourself, just to be unique, just to say what you think and to do what you feel. But unfortunately, I've noticed this for me with Aries aspects in my chart or my life previously. There is also like a lot of situations of control still. It's like Aries is thinking, sometimes even during those shiny windows, but how can I be this, but also retain what I had? I mean, I've had this happen a few times through this month, and it is very challenging because sometimes the more conservative you are, like the more conservative your background or your creativity, the less easy it is. The less easy it is to just to splash, to just do, and that's not okay because impulse and the splash of color is you. It is very very unbecoming sometimes of us Aries people in May. Especially during a very very tormentingly um, crazy like caring connective time of Cancer or Taurus, we've got Jupiter retrograde. This is a very 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 sensitizing energy. This is a very very brooding, perhaps it is even a slightly stale time for us. And then what happens is an Aries person walks in and goes, I am the world, I am the works. Come on, guys, remember who I am, and it's really, really difficult because people are, they got their glasses on, they got their spectacles on, they're doing their work, and you suddenly push somebody, and go, come on, don't you understand? And it's really, really hard. So if you can, please protrude less if you know that you are doing this for some kind of a cause of the past. So that can happen sometimes with Aries, like the war's over, you did not win, or you didn't try, or you didn't really take it to that limit, and sometimes this feist can be out of time, and it can also be out of practice. It would be very very nice if you do have a flame for you in May, if you're still asking your friends to participate and to hold your hand, if you're suddenly angry that they didn't support you through the month of April, which can be a really really interesting symptom to show you that you are not happy with your past. If you are feeling unaware, unawake, and unheld, so good not to stick out, and really really nice to help other people first. Help other people first. You got a lot of energy, you haven't really done that much during your time. It's so nice to help somebody. It's like, okay, somebody's struggling with something, you got a lot of energy, just give them something that you can. It is not a great time for friends, especially if you are not feeling admired and you feel like you should be. It is not a good time for parents or loved ones if you do not like yourself and you feel that they owe you a better choice or like a better background. If you are looking at your mom and you're thinking she owes you, it's not a good month. If you are taking your friends for granted, it is not a good month. If you are still somehow misaligned because your future or your mission or your product didn't go through, or something didn't quite match, it is not a good month. So definitely, because we are going for your second house here, Taurus is your second house, it is the world turning to you. So whatever you have burned through, whatever you have pushed on through, whatever you have tried to be, whatever you have managed to become in Aries time and Taurus, you will be given for. But the thing is not to want that more than you as well. Because sometimes, yeah, people put in the work and then Taurus comes, second house comes, and people say, well, I spent a lot of time on this, or like, I've tried really hard, come on, you guys, applaud me or gift to me, or become like me, consolidate me. And this is really, really difficult time for, all of us people with Aries aspects in us, because this is not going to change anything. Now it is not about anything. It's like, you've done the movie, here's the review. It is like, you've done the work, here's the pay. You have tried, a lot perhaps, and it shouldn't have been that hard. It could have just been an inertia-based experience. You've tried, you made the stance, you've created something, you flourished in April, and now here you are with an echo. So the mimic of you is coming back to you, and sometimes it is hard. So Aries, really take advantage of this time not to work too much, and notice, see perhaps what you own or what is given back to you. Are you able to sustain your life? Are you able to be free financially? Do you feel glee with how the world turns around and greets you during this month of May? Or are you biting your nails? Are you nervous? What is the value system that you work within? What are the people thinking? What are the people cherishing about you? But don't commit to anything that is money-based or friends-based only. So it's like, oh, that worked, I'm just going to go in that direction now. Because you are meant to be free, and that is why you're loved and cared for, Aries, as well. So take a choice as well. By the end of the month, there might be a big choice as to who you have not been and why you have not been that, or what you have tried to be without care. Do not walk between paths. You might have 4 or 5 different you know, Aries, for an Arian person that is really unwell. So say if you've got different types of magic, different types of songs, you sing, different types of books you write, or different types of wellness centers you go to, different types of practices or different types of jobs, it is very, very nice to now see the truth of them and to chronologically build towards one, because that's where you are the best. If you can choose one of anything by the end of the month, that would give you a lot. So thank you very much, Aries, and I hope you have a wonderful month. Look up your sun, moon, ascendant, and stellium in the links below. And yes, and welcome in. So something's coming in, Aries, and you must welcome in. Thank you very much. Hi Taurus, thank you very much for being here. Paulina here, talking to you about your ecstatic, inviting, hyper real, very, very colorful and playful month of May. But this is not entirely the case. It feels to me that surprisingly a lot of hard work and sometimes even a lot of trauma and torment and disappointment or situations of control can really give you a lot. So I'm actually really interested in you here for this point, because with us, people on the opposite side, so I'm on the opposite spectrum, I'm in Scorpio, it would be very, very interesting to see you shine and perhaps tell us as to why sometimes hardship or situations of dissatisfaction lead you to such great results. I'm feeling you. If you are interested in doing things in a few different types of way, Taurus, you can. To do things alone is not good, but to do things with others is greater. Occasionally for this type of month, you might actually blame somebody else for the mistakes that you've done, or you might feel that somebody else is responsible for you. I'm not feeling that this is entirely kosher, but for some reason it just gives to you more and more. So being in situations that are a little bit uptight with others, or becoming like a, you know, one of the best service people in a certain type of industry, or having a lot of realizations through hard work, or even difficult or confronting work situations, for some reason for you, Taurus, works. And I don't know how you've done it or how you did it, but it feels to me that you've come out in a sense to experience it. So it feels to me that if you are with a strange boss, Taurus, or if you are in a strange bind, if somebody's expecting a lot from you, if you've got a partner who's taking you for granted, if you feel very unprivileged and very unwell in some strange way, maybe perhaps similar to a Piscean way, you have done the work, or you have done the right thing perhaps in staying sometimes with difficult situations or difficult people, or however you've done it. It's very, very interesting, but you might get a really good payoff from things that were constricting before. I have no idea how this works, and I'm not an expert on this kind of thing, but it does not feel to me that it is not easy either. It's like you've been in a situation of confinement, been under contract, or you are looking at being under contract, and for some reason here contracts work. Being under another person works. Being under a boss or a manager works. Being represented by somebody who's a little bit of a power freak is for some reason good. Having somebody in your life that is fighting you or is doing things perhaps behind your back for some reason here in May services Tauruses, and it doesn't just service, it can actually push you up. So in a situation of control where another person is taking responsibility, or the karmic backlash for giving you too much to do, giving you too much work, or giving you a hard word, for some weird reason, Tauruses, you can elevate here a lot. And as well as also becoming somebody who cares, who drives, and to help, who helps another who does not have enough power or control in their world. So if you are surrounded by people somehow, or you have friends or relatives that are not really well treated by the government, by the system, or by some kind of situation, for some reason it feels to me that Tauruses can really take the upper hand here. Take things to court if you wanted to. You could take things to a greater tribunal. You can make money, and you can make power or powerful decisions based on things that you have perhaps previously not been good with, or not felt happy with. So having situations where you don't understand why things are so, or this or that, being unworthy, or being in a situation of distrust and not feeling good about what happened in the past, not feeling the greatest about how things have gone, not trusting somebody, and not quite taking things perhaps with the kindest heart. Sometimes for Taurus is actually an interesting idea, because it is like quality control, it is like learning to sense and measure. So if you are somebody that is not quite sure, not quite happy, and feels unwell or badly done by a situation or a person or group or representative or even the government or some kind of a corporate body, because we have a lot of things happening in Capricorn here, you can take it to tribunals here, and you can actually benefit here a lot, Taurus, through also using your name, your photograph, or your personal story to get other people free. So to get things across, if you've ever wanted to use your particular situation as a certain type of guide for other people as to what not to do or what to avoid or what to be wary of, you can. And you could also, I feel, make a lot of money, or you could make a lot of situations from people that perhaps have done you badly or that have not given you enough. Unfortunately, it feels to me that this could also be a pattern for you guys, and if you are like constantly offended, counting on people to be bad to you or to treat you badly, or if you are looking for the aggressor in all of us, or if you're an aggressing person, so you like just, what, I can't believe you said this, you know, if you get very, very sensitive always, and if it is something that you cry about often, or if it is a big part of your story, and if these themes come up all the time frequently, and you definitely look for those themes, so maybe it is up to you to be scanned, or it is up to you to be somehow reconsidered by other people. So it is a very interesting fine line here as well between offense and justice, and it is actually a very, very good time for us all, I feel, maybe to see that as a collective, as a species, as to what is a personal offense or a whim, and what is actually truly negligent, and what is actually truly important and truly, you know, needed to be seen. So it also feels to me that sometimes Tauruses can destroy situations when they walk away from them. So it's important to not do that. The idea here is to break free, to get clean, and to get sparkly and fresh, and to get the most for your work, to get the most for your time, to get the most for your effort, and to come out victorious because of that. So it's like knowing that you've done the best, knowing that you've done the most, and also perhaps sympathizing with the abuser or the aggressor, or any kind of personal experience or thing that is feeling like is holding you back. So yeah, there's always going to be a bit of resistance with Taurus. There's going to be a feeling like something is stepping on your toes, or there's like a person behind you that is taking you for granted, or is putting you to work. But unfortunately, it's not exactly all that. So yes, you can win a few trials maybe here, Taurus, if you've got something in mind in terms of paperwork, in terms of getting yourself across. Maybe there's some kind of process with work, maybe there's some kind of law related experience, or there's some kind of like a very official business idea that has not yet been seen before, you know, because you haven't argued it. And here you are able to argue. But unfortunately, what can sometimes also happen is this can become a pattern. You can blame people perhaps for not giving you enough. As Taurus can be quite an incredibly aggressive sign, but not in the way that other people are. It feels to me that sometimes also making a pattern or a plan as to where you kind of know, or you believe you will be abused or taken advantage of, is not good. So if you're somebody who's prone to these situations, it is a very nice time to consider not to make it into a victim/abuser cycle. And it is also very, very nice for us all to step back as well. So if you are somebody without many friends during this time, or if you're feeling that people are stepping back, they're not calling you back, or they're taking their time, that is not great. But also consider with the social environment around you being a certain type of measure of your frequency, perhaps there is a thing that you can do, Taurus, sometimes here, which is get an advantage through being the victim, or receive a lot for being the innocent one that's not quite telling, or being a little bit on the nervous end. But then when there is the other part that awakens, because everything is dual, everything is two, which is a control freak, or the person that really, really wants to get the most and suddenly feels very angry and crazy and aggressive because they haven't had their way. And you may not know this is going to happen until you can see that nobody calls you, or nobody, you know, nobody gets you, or nobody comes to your function. So very, very good to take a look at your social environment. And if you are watching people and you're noticing that they are not watching you, or they are walking towards something else, let them go, because it is actually a very, very good chance to reconsider your actions. So it is a very nice, glowy, responsible, and very, very beautifully fragile and colorful month. But if you are looking at us and you are fearing us, or if there is something about you that is looking for that, or you're looking to demonize somebody or to feel about somebody not very nice things, it might be very, very interesting to take that back. If you are, though, in a position of power and control, or you have enough stamina and enough connection for yourself that you're not worried about what other people might do or what other people might say or think, if you are karmically easy and you're not feeling afraid, it is a very, very good time here for you to show us what you can, to show us what you can. It's so nice to see a very well-established Taurus during this time. It is beautiful for parties. It is a magnificent time for friends, but don't get sulky if you don't hear enough from us. If you're not hearing from other people, it means that you're not ready to do something bigger. But if you are surprisingly, perhaps, exhausted by work, or surprisingly doing a few different tasks all at the same time, you may not find it that which you're looking for, but suddenly you turn around, there's a whole group of people waiting for you to connect. So if you do get called out, if you're getting asked to go somewhere, if you are getting given information as to where to go, anything market related, in terms of people, in terms of what they want, in terms of being steered towards an interesting frontier with work, with friends, with social interactions, also with partners. Perhaps partners should be careful. But in terms of social dues, social justice, and social things, if you are getting steered towards something, you might want to know, because occasionally here you might have a very big social reclaim. You can perhaps create a huge social construction. You might make something very pretty, very popular, and very well selling during this time, and you can actually get very good at what you do. So if you are a Taurus that is looking to expand, perhaps have a look at people, who they are, where they are, and how they represent you, but also having a look at their friends and family and other beings that are associated with that group. It is not very good to just leave things alone. It feels to me that projects can fester if they're not seen sometimes, or if there's no input during this particular type of year and this particular very, very handy month, very, very popular and very, very practical month. So it's very, very good to exchange ideas. It's very good to get on the ball with things. It is good to switch places. It is good to switch positions. It is very good to have different people help you with your job. It's very good to help them with their work. It is very good to collaborate. It's a very beautiful month for freedom and healing through work and through social justice as well. No humiliation, no humiliation. So if you have never ever spoken up about a topic, that's another thing. This is truly the time. But if you are somebody who doesn't quite care about social things and doesn't really mind what impact it creates for others, and sometimes, you might have just a very simple need, like you just want a home, or you just want your own thing, and you don't really want to contribute to anybody else, or you are at that level of Taurus where you are actually huddling in, or you're trying to create a home, or you're making something for yourself, it does not feel to me that it's going to give you enough. So even if you're really domesticated, homely Taurus, try to make it about friends and family, extended family as well. Include people you haven't included before. If you are in a family bond, is going to be likely festering. So if you're in a very closed in, very connected, very succumbing situation where you don't allow anybody else in your home, there's going to be likely at least one or two aspects of it that fester, and it might be very, very nice for that point to introduce new people into the family. Even children sometimes can come about during these types of times, just to dilute very tight hold on the family line. It might also be very, very nice to just witness things in public eye. If you are not somebody who is equipped socially or spiritually, it may just be nice to people watch. It might just be nice to sit outside somewhere and to protrude, and you might get actually very, very surprised. But it feels to me that luck is not something that is easy. It's not just about being given things. So perhaps last few years you might have just found that people just give you things for being yourself, or people just smile to you because you are just you. It may be not the case here. So it feels to me that what it is about, it is more about people just sitting next to you and scoping you out, or people giving you advice, or people walking with you a very, very special karmic journey. I feel it might be a little bit like this. So it might be that people fight a little bit, or there is a little bit of tension and friction between the two or more people. It feels to me that there is a little bit of a tango. There's not entirely a good story. There's not entirely a fresh, fluffy story that perhaps you are used to or you are looking for, Taurus, unconsciously. I feel that there is more than that. So it feels to me that with each story, brum, brum. With each story, there is a fine line. With each situation, there is a serrated edge. It feels to me that with each type of trauma, there's also a resolve. So in the dark, you might find the light, and in the light, what seems really fluffy and careless, you might find a depth. So it is very important to look for all things of proportion. So even if you are somebody who's in court, and if you are, say, in a custody battle, in a difficult situation with other people, it might actually be very, very good for you, very, very classy and very, very connected, to see if you can also make friends out of your enemies, and if you can look at, say, your ex-partner, or the situation, or whoever owes you something, in a very gracious way, with a smile on your face, without having to obstruct yourself from further. This is like a very, very top-notch time for polarity and polarity-based situations, but try to take it to the limit. So for example, stand up in front of your boss and say, I would like to, get more money for what I do. Or stand up in front of your mom and say, look, we haven't really been talking. I'm concerned about our relationship. Or stand up in front of your partner and say, look, we haven't been intimate for such a long time. I want to know what's going on. Stand up in front of the court. So make the story bigger, and make sure that when you are facing this polarity, and it feels to me that most of you guys that are facing adversity during this time are going to get the most. And most of you guys that are facing resistance, even if it's just resistance at the gym, through weight training or something like that, all resistance works here for Tauruses. Resistance does work, and it is something that is needed sometimes to progress, but making sure that it is worth it as well. So perhaps you've got a big story, so just take care, okay, having a look and see as to where you are struggling. Okay, so it's not just about not being wanted by a friend anymore, or not caring enough for a group anymore. This is a small time. It feels to me that you might be able to take it to the bigger time if you want. So looking at the global situation, using that steam, using that smoke, using that fire for something bigger, perhaps not too big if you're not involved, but say, for example, using your job or career as a way to exercise that fear, or to exercise that feeling. So having a look at that. Very black and white perhaps for some, very polarity based, but it will be worth it, I feel, in the end, whatever happens with you guys. If there is a conflict or a contract that needs to be dissolved, or a new contract to be placed, a new justice for something, I feel you will be better than best. So you have the victor's energy. So yes, definitely good for buying property, for dealing with children, for dealing with parents. It's a very, very nice time to get your point across. So use this power, the power of attorney, the power that is within Taurus at the moment. So definitely nice to see you, and I hope you have a nice month. And check out your stellar, ascendant, moon and sun in the caption below. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Hi Gemini, thank you very much for being here. Paulina, sorry about the noise. Talking to you about you and your month of May. I'm not sure about you during this month. Okay, so you've got a few different types of things happening. And just like I have quite a bit of noise outside at the moment, you might have quite a few different types of distortions in your life as well. If you like, take this month into consideration. And yes, we are going through Taurus, and you might be under siege, and you may not want to know, and you might have somebody knocking on your door asking you to turn down the volume, or you might be in a situation where you are doing a few things and there are a few different people floating around asking you, why are you doing those things? Why don't you just, put all your effort into one thing? But you might be shoving them to the side, all these people, and you might be just going on your own into some kind of pocket of reality. But there you may not find it. You might actually find it within the whole story. So see things holistically. Things have to be seen together, because it feels to me that sometimes what happens with Gemini around this time is escapism. escaping through not wanting to know, blocking your ears, escape through music, media. I don't want to know, I don't want to hear you. I'm just going to do a few different things at the same time. Wishing to perhaps work on a project that doesn't quite matter, doesn't really carry itself across, and yet getting really, really slightly unnerved and nervous when people don't understand you or don't recognize the true genius, perhaps what it feels like, the true genius of your work. Gemini people, especially Gemini gentlemen, who are completely obsessed with certain type of music genre, with certain type of label, with certain type of thing. This can go on and on and on into the ages. So obsessing with music, obsessing with a certain type of brand, obsessing with a certain type of look, obsessing with something that you collect. And that is not something that is seen by today's society, the psychosis or neurotic energy, but it is. And here you might actually find a lot of people that are saying the same thing, and you might say they are like everyone else. Are they like everyone else though, Gemini? Are they? If everybody just tells you, come on, you don't need to do this like this. Like, come on, just come with us. People are trying to connect with you and continue on into a different spectrum. It is very, very hard because here you might have a polarity between me and them, and you might have a very, very difficult or very, very unnerving energy about it. So it might feel like, no, mom, I will not turn down the volume, like, no, dad, I will not go to work. I'm going to be an entrepreneur and travel the world. Yes. So these ideas are very, very wonderful, and there is nothing wrong with the music style or the haircut, or the clothes. There's nothing wrong with you, Gemini, and there isn't, and they shouldn't ever be, because you're the gem, you're beautiful. But here we are going for your 12th house. Stubborn thinking, stubborn doing, it's like drawing a million things, where your work is not going ahead or your family is not fed. So having a look at how you distribute your time. It is also very, very unlucky for us sometimes to see during this time if you're a Gemini scorned. It is very easy to be a Gemini scorned during this type of month. Unfortunately, it feels to me that not a lot of people care, but they do care enough to give you that advice, and it might be very, very lopsided. So it might be just that word like stop, or like don't, why, so the advice coming from others is not really the sympathetic, clear blueprinting and unraveling advice that perhaps you're used to. I'm saying this again, I've said this a few times in the previous videos, that the mind is not ready yet. The mind is not ready yet. The inertia is building taste and connection and color and recognition, the unconscious for you here, and the superb reality spectrum is building. So the understanding of things that are greater is building, but the mind has to be asleep while those things are taking place. So sometimes what nature does is it accentuates the building process of something, and it dissipates the building process of something else, just so things can grow. So the mind is switched off and is disconnected, but what is connected is the inertia cycles, the dreamings, the ideas, the ideals, the sprucing up, the connecting, taste, color, sensitivity. That's all on the grow. And sometimes it needs a very meticulous process, but what you're probably waiting for is a really good explanation. Quite often the mind here is not enough, and it is not really working here also in the 12th house to Gemini, but also with how we've got Jupiter retrograde at the moment, and we just had Mercury come out into shadow and going direct. But this is it basically. You have to, Gemini, understand that sometimes you will not get that portrait of that perfect person explaining to you or expanding to you how you wish. You might get a portrait of a totally different person. You might get a very conservative grandma telling you the best advice in the world. Here you might see the reflection of you and a child running up to you because they lost their ball, and they're asking you if you've seen their ball. Here you might see that the reflection of you is not in your partner, it's actually in the girl next door. You might see that the reflection of you is in the eyes of the guy at the gas station pouring your gas into your car and feeling undeserved. There could be lots of different situations in which you mirror yourself to you through all of us. And this is difficult because sometimes during this type of time, Gemini might say, no, I've had enough of you silly people. I want to do my thing. And occasionally, on occasion, yes, you have still a little bit, momentum from Aries, and there's a lot of things going on. You might want to really, really do a lot of different things in a way that you want them, and you may also want to do different types of trauma revival as well, because 12th house, you know, Gemini, this is hard. So you might go into the music that you used to listen to, or your previous aspirations, and you might get stuck on that. So in a collective report, I did mention, have a look at your chronological timeline and see what works and what will last and what will likely fail. And this is not perhaps for you entirely, as 12th house is a little bit of a gloomy, dreamy, out of space, out of time, kind of stranged out place for you here at the moment. But it might be very, very nice not to consist or persist with that one thing that will not take you further. So have a look at your hobbies. If you are with hobbies, and if you can see perhaps how you can take it further, and especially if you've got one or two people at least that are egging you on and that actually have good ideas and good contacts and good hookups and good people that they know, or they've got the platform to help you, be very careful with that as well, because 12th house can be very eluding. But try to make sure that everything is clear, clean and clear and under control, Gemini. So taking care of your business skills, taking care of you, making sure that your ideas and your situations are not going to waste, making sure that you're not creating millions of drawings and then just putting them away into some kind of cupboard and forgetting all about them, because it's one of the biggest shadows of Gemini sometimes, is not being able to expose or explore your art. It is not very, very good to communicate and take it further when you know that you're not actually going to use what you're creating. Also, people in unlikely conversations, it is very easy to get taken away into a little circle where there's like a very special click for you, and perhaps people remind you of a certain nostalgic era, or there is like a certain type of fairy dust phenomena happening there, where you feel held and understood by a very marginal group of people. But are they going to be there for you later on? Perhaps not, or perhaps they might, but maybe it will not be what you want. So strange doses, weird situations. I feel that for a Gemini, this conversation with God that you're having during May is meant for you and not for your work. So if you can, make time to write, to blog, to journal for you, and make it your own precious thing. But in terms of getting from the depth, or from the retro era, or from some kind of childhood memory, a big thing suddenly that has never really been part of your life before, or reminding yourself of what it was like to be 12, or things that happened at home, is not going to work unless you've studied, or you've tried, or you've made concepts like this before. So suddenly going into, you know, age 12 or trauma of the past is not good. Unfortunately, I feel that people will not see you sometimes traumatized. Sometimes with a Gemini, how you process trauma is not the same as us. And it can be that you are actually in distraught states, and you maybe even have been taught that you're not distraught. Because emotion is not something that Gemini usually does with finesse. So perhaps you might be somebody who's burying, you know, themselves in books that have nothing to do with your world, and they're just situations that you're reading through as if somebody else's diary, but you perhaps do not understand, and you were not taught, or you were not witnessed as a person who's distraught when these things happen. So at a time like this, it is better to use Dharma. So to use the daily grind, or the daily pursuits, or the daily work, maybe working out, doing things for you, working on your business, is getting there. You know, that is going to be a little bit better, I feel, than trying to say run away from yourself, doing something magical and mythical that then ends up being a lot of time spent and a lot of memories perhaps remembered. But at the same time, after this memory lane, when June comes and you are in full bloom, would you really like it to continue what you've done? So consistency with your unconscious. Memorabilia is fine if you say, for example, have a graphic design business and you use memorabilia as a way to sell your art or sell your craft. That's fine. If you're a marketer and using old products and you're designing your life around memorabilia, that's all right. That's all structured and that's all chronological with your timeline as to where you are and where you're going and where you've been before. But the most important thing I feel here is not to shock anybody as well, because you might say, well, did you know when I was, la la la, well, did you actually have any idea, who I was, when I was 10 and I used to play guitar, it's really, really difficult. It's a really, really shocking thing sometimes for Geminis to see, that occasionally people do not want to know where you come from. They just want to know where you're at, because you are the gem, you are the sun, you are like the sparkle by the end of the month. I mean, you're it pretty much by the 27th of May, hands down. Everybody wants to know your name, but it is not really about the journey. So here for Taurus, it is. In a Taurian energy, it is about the journey, it is about the hardship and the bigger story of their life. If you've got both, maybe consider how you can play around with this. Perhaps there's lots of different nuances that are up to you to figure out, or get a reading if you like. But in terms of your own life, Gemini, it isn't really about giving people the full story, or trying to make people notice, or trying to make people bleed for you, you know what I mean, or cry for you, cry with you, or looking for those people that can run away with you and do a lot of shocking things or experience a lot of great creative things. It is not about that. I feel that for Taurus it is, maybe for Aries sometimes a little bit as well, but for yourself it feels to me that it is not. It is actually just about the here and now and how you can take yourself further. So if you can, look at your timeline, see where you have shined, like really shined. It's like we just supernovaed, where were the biggest wins or the biggest gains or the strongest versions of yourself, and then merge those up into a constructive grid. I'm really sorry to be a little bit practical here, into a constructive sequence within which you can then create some beautiful chords in your life, and then take that further without having to pick your belly button, Lind, without having to, pick on yourself or pick on your mom or dad, or try too hard to create some kind of warrior out of you from the past. This could be really good, if you just take back the things that are trying to pull you in to some kind of a conversation that never ends, and begin the bigger picture of you through constructive understanding of your past. So thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful time. Have a look at your stellium, sun sign, moon sign, ascendant, whatever you like, and I will see you next time. Thanks a lot, Gemini. Keep shining. Keep shining. You're the one. Hi Cancer, thank you very much for seeing me. Paulina here, talking to you about your incredibly fresh, beautifying and delightfully delicious month of May. Okay, so you've got a lot of good things going on, and unlike a few people or that you've seen, perhaps you might be actually overjoyed and overboard with delight. So you've got something coming in, Cancer. You've got a big, 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 big yes, and probably a lot of little no's. It feels to me that if you are not quite happy and not quite well, you just had to see somebody perhaps. It is very nice at the beginning of this transit to see a doctor. It is very nice to, at the beginning of this transit, make sure that you're not doing too much work. It is very good to get yourself nice and simple, nice and contained, just to be careful and kind and loving enough to accept, as you are creating almost like a little platform on which something better will either grow or be or develop or just be given to you, and perhaps also be the same as you. It is very easy to receive something or someone who is the same as you. It is very, very nice to receive something in your taste. It is very, very nice to receive something here that is exactly as you wanted it to be, and it is actually very, very easy here to be wanted to. Very nice time, Cancer, to be loved. It is such a nice May to be loved, to be kinded to be kissed and cuddled and very much enjoyed. I feel that for you though, Cancer, it is not the best month to pretty yourself up for it. So you don't have to be anybody else you have not yet been. And sometimes there is this glee of receiving before it is time, because you might be able to see what is coming next. Yes, it is really nice to receive and to be received and to be in this really beautiful energy of the coming back, or perhaps consolidation, some kind of gift, some kind of retrieval, maybe even creating a situation of connection with a long lost lover, partner, or family member, friend, or somebody who is meaningful to you. It is a very, very interesting time to now consider how you've been, and not to twist yourself around to be somebody that you're not, because sometimes Cancer can go, okay, I'm receiving, there is something coming, or there is something going on, I need to make myself the best I've been, I need to really, really no, so don't do that. So for example, if you're somebody who's a dancer and you're preparing for an audition, You don't need to sweat extra much. You don't need to make yourself look like someone else. You don't have to have any new moves in your routine. You are fine. You're better than best. So Cancer, just consolidate. Okay, here's a consolidating time. It is the best time. There's the goodest, gorgeousest, weirdest time to just beam. And the beaming is from the inside or it is from the outside, however you do, because each one of you guys has a very, very special, sympathetic and very, very conscientious way in which you do things. And it might be a very complicated process as usual. It might be a very simple one. I would probably advise keep things how they are. Keep things how they are, unless they are unraveling. Unless you haven't yet had the chance to see a doc. Unless you haven't yet had the chance to contain yourself and connect yourself within your own shell. So what happens usually with April, and this is very, very strong, this April, I'm still recording this in April as we are in April now, sometimes there's a lot of force inside you that you do not know about, and there could have been a lot of dissatisfactions, health issues, and issues with family and friends. But here now, in May, it should not be such a big deal to get them fixed. It should not be such a big deal. So just cutting things down, helping rearrange realities. Perhaps the doctor was needed more last month, but here you might want to see how the symptoms can be fixed up if things have gone on for too long. You know, you can fix it. You know, last month was the time to get things out, you know, and to pull things in and to just really shift around and have like a chiropractic adjustment on your life. But here the vulnerability is not there anymore, so you're not as malleable, you're not maybe perhaps as starry-eyed and innocent, or not as good with advice, or perhaps you are not yet as open enough to receive the big transmission. So in terms of big work on yourself or big work on your world, it's okay. You don't need to do anything. Basically, Cancer, be you. Cancer, be you as you. It is not a good time to rummage around in the past, but yes, unfortunately, we will. And you won't. This is actually quite interesting. You might actually find that a lot of people are putting their timeline together. We are getting together. We are putting our things together. We're getting motivated. We are actually maybe starting to see the world like you. Maybe we are becoming a little bit more concerned about where we've been all our lives. Maybe we are starting to become a little bit more collectively enamored with time, as we do have Mr. Time, Saturn going through your 7th house, Cancer. So yeah, we're definitely lucky enough to know you as well, because here you have a very, very unusual portal for us. You are the wormhole, Cancer. Where we do not know how to complete task, you know how to complete task. Where we're not quite sure we lost something, you know where to find it. Where we are not sure as to how we're going to put the next frontier together, you will give it to us. You are the best advisor, hands down in May. Hands down, Cancer, you're the best. You have a very interesting elevation. So you have a very interesting new level to you. You've got a new dimension building somewhere. You have a very interesting experience, perhaps waiting here, at least one experience where you have not wanted something for a long time, or you have not desired, and yet it was part of your past, and it will be sort of put back into your system, or you will receive some kind of endorphin, or some kind of a change, or some kind of a personal presence, or a gift from God, you know, or, you know, from reality. It's almost like belated presence, belated presence, belated friends, belated conversation. It feels that you will receive, and it's not just that it's coming from the past, it is owed to you, or that it is meant to be for you. It is just an echo of that which was. And you might actually find that once you have that someone, or when you are given that incredible gift, or when you are in that state of opportunity, you may look at it, and when you see it, and when it's in front of you and it's all completely there, you might say no. You might actually even freak yourself out, but don't push yourself around. So whatever comes in sometimes during this part of the year, and especially with the energy that we have now, it might be an echo of who you used to be, and it may not even be that. It may just be an outdated letter to yourself. But here, when you scrutinize it, you know, you scrutinize this gift, you scrutinize yourself. Can I accept this person? You know, can I accept this gift? You know, when you get a little bit freaky, sometimes, Cancer, you lose it. And also consider, this is not the new you, this is the past. We are working out the chronological line. the people that are coming to you, they are not the most refreshed, renewed version of themselves either. So you might not, for example, receive the boyfriend that you wanted 20 years ago. You might see his shadow, which means that the people that are coming back, or the gifts that are coming back, they are not that raw feeling that you've wished for, or not quite that 200% gush that you've always associated with them. They are like a reminder, almost like a phantom. They're a phantom of themselves. It's very freaky. It's very freaky stuff, and it may be a little bit too showing or a little bit too open as to what these people or situations want. Keep an eye on the time also as well. If you have somebody come back from the past and they want to be your future, or they're pretending that they are, there's like a very, very interesting secretive situation that can happen with people here sometimes, is people do not know you, but they suddenly decide that they do. May is very seductive for us with you. We're starting this May on a full moon conjunct Jupiter in Scorpio, so it could be very, very, very easy. This is your fifth house illuminated. Very, very easy to suddenly find you one of the most hardiest, helpfulest, beautifulest, loveliest, kindest, and sexiest people in the world. But for us, it is very, very nice. It is very, very nice to contain ourselves too. So as not to startle you, contaminate you too much, or push you around, because although you are the way set to receive, there's also a lot of fragility about you. And it feels to me that the emotional frequency here is of Mother, the emotional frequency is of Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene. There's like a really, really beautiful, almost like a dying heroine and a beginning of a new heroine, the beginning of a new character. So it feels to me that you are, in a sense, the one during May, and the best way to do it is just to be ready for it, to have a platform. So for example, if you are feeling, or if it's already, for me it feels like it's going to be a surprise, but if you are feeling like there could be some kind of a person in your life, prepare for it, prepare yourself, prepare. If you're feeling like there could be a pregnancy as well, also very nice to prepare. If you are fearing it, it's not good, but if you are feeling that there is something very, very fresh and new coming, really consider how you could probably make some space, make some room. And also with these new things coming, you might want to readjust a few things within yourself. But it feels to me that unfortunately for most of you guys, it is not a thing to build upon necessarily. It is like a phantom. So it's like a ghost coming into your space, or like a ghost version of you. So what this means to me is just prepare for the experience, because it might be one of the most spiritual experiences you've ever had, or it could be a very soulful, hearty and very, very reminiscent energy. But in terms of you growing from it, or creating a very, very strong, stocky, like get-go kind of feeling, I don't feel that's right for you. And also, if you care to embroider, if you care to sew, if you care to do anything traditional, if you want to revive any kind of cultural aspect of yourself, it's very nice. Ancestral aspects are very nice to be in the way of deed, but also it's almost like there is a feeling about you, Cancer, this month. It's like you're a damsel or a gentleman. There's almost like a Victorian, traditional, Celtic, or ancestral, ethnic ancestral energy. So it feels to me that whatever your roots are, whatever your past is, there is something waking up, and there is something that is more classical than classical within you. So having a look at your ancestral background, perhaps, if you like, but it could be also unconscious, it could be unconscious. So like weaving your hair, like doing things that are slow, dancing with life, and entrancing yourself into some kind of like a really, really nice morphing energy that is able to accept, absorb, and even suck in information. So it's like you are becoming more intermittent within yourself, within your own sphere, and then all of these different things, all of these aspects that come will inevitably make a big difference. But the more you are absorbent, Cancer, the more you are absorbent and you're intermittent within your own play with the world during May, because you can receive a lot, the more will come back, And also, actually, I would even say to the point of skin regeneration, physical regeneration, all of these things. So we're in April now. If you've got the time, and if you are in pain, if you are worried, if you're not absorbing, if you're freaking out, if you're like this, if you're like more of a sea urchin than a Cancer, that's not okay. It's also okay. It's up to you how you have devised your April month. So it is very nice to see a doctor, a therapist, or a professional just in the last days, perhaps. But here you also get another chance in late May as well. So if you can absorb, be in the state of absorption. So when we are in May, we deep in May, by the 15th, you are creating so much radiance and you're ready for so much more. And also that will become a very nice month to become greater at things, to be a greater optimist, to be a greater partner, parent, lover, and friend, and also to be the best. It is very interesting here. You could start your journey into the realm of becoming the best. So very, very beautiful time, Cancer. Very nice to see you. Very lovely to evolve through you and with you here. And I hope to enjoy more of your presence next time. Thanks a lot. Check out your Ascendant, Sun, Moon, and Stellans in the links below. And I'll see you next month. Thank you. Bye. Hi, Leo. Goddess, God, personified, Leo. And the beautiful fixed sign of Taurus in May. Okay, so nobody's really as excited perhaps as you about what you've got going on. Okay, Leo guys, do it, do the thing. I've been talking about this with you for a little bit, but why not do things your own way as well? So if you've had, a lot of work storing up, a lot of things, by now you're probably going, oh, don't worry about it. Depends on what kind of Leo you are. Sometimes some of the suavest Leos I've seen are the ones that deal the oldest cards. You got like a stored up packet of cards and you're just like, oh, sure, look, these are my old cards, this is my old concept, this is my old work, this is my old portfolio, so what? And occasionally you can get the most. And with other Leos that are a little bit more measured and a little bit more poised and a little bit more timed, perhaps that is a very, very scary idea to suddenly, whip out some of your very old clothes or whip out some of your very, very old style or very old stuff. But for some Leos, it really works. So having a look here, memory lanes, Leo, memory lanes really do work for you. But here, unfortunately, you might not judge correctly. So having a look. Okay, we're all looking for our past during this month of May 2018. I know it is not maybe the most exciting time, but it is actually going to be, it feels to me. When you look at it, it might not be very exciting as to how I'm explaining things to you right now, but it will get better as I progress with your reading, hopefully. So with the whole thing about this month, you can really do a lot just by creating sequences of your past, creating albums, from your previous music, creating style from what you've done throughout the decades, making the best product out of what you've tried before, helping yourself through what you've done in the past, helping your brothers and sisters and whoever you have in your life through advice that has come from your own life from the past. You are truly the dealer. You are like the dealer of the past. Okay? As far as past goes, you are like the mastermind. Not exactly, but you're more like the pawn shop owner, of the future. Okay, it's like you've got the past behind you, and it feels to me that for yourself it is more accessible than ever. And not just that, it feels that we want to buy from you, we want to look at you, we want to know from you, we would like to see what your kind of past is all about, so you can market yourself. Like everybody's like, oh, I'm not sure what to do. Gemini is getting a little bit crazy with this, Capricorn is getting a little insane, but you can handle it. You can handle. So Leo, shoulder pads, what you wanted to wear. You wanted to wear leather gloves, like Michael Jackson gloves, you wanted to wear special shoes, special kicks, you wanted to do something different with your hair, and to another person it looks like an amazing style, but that could just be what your grandmother did with her hair, and it's not that big a deal, So it's not about you and how you could be more unique during this time. It's basically just about looking through the ginormous closet of your mind and also the ginormous repertoire of your work that already exists. So the story is that we all have some kind of a chronological issue here. We need to sort out the past. We need to put things into sequence. We need to really start seeing the pearls. We need to really start understanding what was the husk and what was the grain in our past, and what could stay with us in the future, where we're putting our energy, what we're working towards. So this is basically like creating the best of album of your life. It is also like a very, very interesting time to not consider yourself stuck, and not to consider yourself too much of the future, because sometimes Leo during this time can see, oh my gosh, like say all the best prizes are given away, like all of the best stuff is given, especially if you're like looking at us people and you're going, oh my god, like say all the best women are taken, all the best men are gay, you know, like la la la, what am I doing? You know, and you're like trying to create some kind of like a system, and sometimes it could be very feverish time, and it may not be right for all of you, but for some of you I feel it is not the best to start going into the future, swimming really fast. It's like, what's next, you know, like say, what's Madonna wearing, you know, at the Oscars, you know, what am I going to wear at the party, like, oh my gosh, what is my next step, you know, what's my next evolution, what's she gonna say, you know, what's the future, what am I going to do this month? So don't go to the future. You can as well, you know, if you've got a lot of Aquarius, you've got a lot of Aries, you've got like say, you know, I don't know, like a crazy stellar somewhere in Pisces, like you got first house and Uranus conjunction. Okay, so you can sometimes, there's certain type of Leo, not everybody, but there is an exception, you know, perhaps for you, as to going towards the best and the top. And actually sometimes unconsciously you might think, I'm going to make the most space age idea, which has actually already been, and like maybe your friends are already doing it or somebody like that, you know, and maybe you might be in denial about it being already in your mind for quite a few years, and that's not all right. That's not all right. You don't need to fight for ideas here, Leo. You don't need to take care of things through taking somebody else's trophy, or taking somebody else's interest. It is not so good to complement and supplement other people here, as we are looking towards you being the only person, the only dealer, the only pawn shop owner in the area. Okay, so it's like you've got everything. It's like, imagine you're standing in front of like thousands of years of memorabilia, and you can just pull something out and go, look, this is best for this particular environment, or this is best for this particular song, or this is best for this particular track, you know, or this is the best idea that I have for an outfit, or this is the best marketing intuit that I have. This is the best marketing intuition that I have. So you are the best, hands down. We're the best at something, Leo, but you're hands down the best during this month to give us that which we crave, and we don't know what that is, and we think it is something in the past, or maybe we think it is something beyond. We're looking for something. It's like we are beyond ourselves in terms of what we search for, and how much sometimes we need clarity, and what it takes sometimes is just that old song, or what it just takes is that, you know, that combination. You are, how can I say, maybe one of the only people, you guys actually the only people that sometimes can swim through the thickest sea. Okay, you are swimming through a very, very thick galactic energy here, which is not about you per se as the king right now, but it is likely to be very easily that if you are able to give back what you know. Give back what you know, and it might be a collection of records, okay, and it may be just some advice on fashion, or it may be just some ideas on representation, and all things glamour, all things fame, all things also human, you know, human stories, like the different eras, what is retro, like what are the different types of things that people want, and what is it that you valued at 16. You know, Gemini can't do it quite as well as you. You can really create a much larger presence for yourself if you just walk within what you know, and if you just do within what you've done, or you can perhaps see the classics of you, the best of album of you. If you've done it all and you haven't quite succeeded, and you have not really wanted to show yourself on a platform or a pedestal, and you were a little bit maybe embarrassed as to how far things have gone, how little you have accomplished, we're not really counting chickens here. We're just basically taking a memory lane. Don't worry. So here is a very, very nice time not to care too much. Just make some kind of sense of your life. Make a chronological timeline. Make sense. make sense, not confusion, you know. Making sense is probably one of the most important things that you and I can do here, Leo, really. Making sense, making a sequence. The inspiration perhaps is not yet dry, but it's drying. And the most important thing here now is not to cultivate fear in you, not to cultivate fear as if you are a bygone, because occasionally with Leo, you will have a closet or a wardrobe of the old. And this is not to say that you are not new, it is just to say that there is enough just to see who you are. But by looking, sometimes you birth something else, and then something else, and then something else births you. So it's like a very interesting, yeah, it sounds crazy. It's a very nice, interesting window for rebirth, but it doesn't have to be in the future. I feel it's got to be in the past. And another way, I guess, what to say here is that you have a very interesting formula in the sky here, Leo. If you really wanted to be you, if you really truly tried, if you really truly liked yourself, you now may consolidate so much that you almost cannot walk past yourself. It's like you are becoming like a moral figure, or you're becoming an identifiable energy. You can really make yourself into more of a meaningful character in people's lives. Here you can create yourself into more grandeur and grace. Here you are really able to contain a lot of meaning and a lot of power. And this is not really the time to flamboyantly skip around. This is actually a really beautiful time for you. It's a really compatible frequency. It's a really gorgeous time to soak up that, you know, like very easy. It's very easy to not want to, but this is like the process that wine goes through sometimes to be the best wine in the world. Is this incredible brewing process is done, but it's just, there's this really interesting way in which the encapsulation in which the wine is, you know, the barrel within which is the wine gives the flavor to the wine. It gives it character. You know, the different pods and seeds or whatever being put into the wine, into the mixture, open up and really, really fulfill their mission. So here you really have, it's not even the brewing, it's like the ripening of yourself. It's like the ripening of yourself. There's perhaps a very distinct smell, flavor, feeling, and color to your work. Maybe there's a very distinct freakishness to you. Maybe there's a very, very awesome depth. It's like you are maturing. You're really maturing here, Leo. And the best is, even if you're only like 20 years old, you know, you shouldn't really probably be watching my channel. But if you're quite young, you know, you might actually find it is very interesting to define parts of yourself. You might actually find that there's already a classic energy about you, even though you might be quite young. So having a look at that, Leo, this month, and becoming. It is the becoming, you know, you are becoming. Thank you very much. Check out your Sun, Moon, Ascendant, and Stellar, and enjoy this ride. That is this video. And if you'd like to know more about me or book a reading, you can. And if you have any trouble this month also, you don't actually really need to count on anybody else but yourself. It feels to me that taste, accomplishment, and your past may have the right keys for you all. So thank you very much and have a wonderful month. Oh, Virgo. Hi, Virgo. How's it going? Paulina here, talking to you about your month of May. Snicker, snicker. I'm sorry. Okay, so we have had you worried, perhaps, and it probably has been like a few of us, or even a fear of ours, to get you so worried. But we're here now in May, and you don't have to probably do a lot of things that we said. You might not actually need to make a lot of plans that we've asked you to make. You know, people around you, what I mean, us, people around you, we probably all collectively didn't quite notice that we really annoyed you, or maybe there were a few fights or a few tiffs and a few things that were taken way too seriously when they were not serious. It is also not easy to see you in a state of distortion and study, too much work and too much political involvement, if you don't really want to do any of it, it is also very uneasy for us to see you put your toes into very, very cold water when you don't have to, like uncomfortable environments, uncomfortable situations, people that are not good to you. If you feel like you have to grit your teeth and do a few more things, if you're in fear and you think that you have to do a few more alterations of self just to get yourself noticed, or if you feel that you have to make a lot of work happen in order to somehow put yourself on the right track, you don't need to take things so far. You don't have to. So have a look at the proportionate and perhaps the disproportionate areas of your world, what you're doing for work, you know, where are you contributing, Virgo? What are you trying to imitate, or how are you trying to go ahead? What is your focus here, basically? What are the different focuses in which you're working? What is the different type of thing that perhaps you might need to be doing here? And what are the different types of people that you are concerning yourself with? You know, Virgo, you don't need to, basically. There is a very, very tired factor here, I feel. There is almost like, oh well, it's going to be one of those working months. Okay, where's my mop? Okay. There's like a very, very concerning factor here. It feels to me that it could also be associated with disconnection, also this nauseating feeling of doing more, and it might actually find you even if you're not wanting to work. It might be that you are taking time off. Perhaps you booked in a therapy session, maybe you booked in like a few things that are very relaxing, and then suddenly you're on your phone going through Facebook and you don't even notice, but you're working, you're working, you're working, you're working. And the most important thing with you guys is not to force it off, but if there is a habit with that, or if you have a heavy feeling, unless you're working, or unless you're doing something, structuring, restructuring, changing and shifting, that is not okay to ignore. So if you are somebody who is constant, on the constant, going through things, on the constant nervous, on the constant trying to fix somebody, on the constant walking towards somebody that you can help heal and perhaps even infuriate, but at the same time fix. If you are wanting something always to make sense and you're always on the go here in Taurus during May, you will perhaps succumb. And maybe that will be a very interesting idea again. It's like suddenly you're in a tiny room again. Okay, Virgo? All of a sudden you are out of love. All of a sudden you understand that you don't really want the situation. You don't really treat yourself very nice in this group. You can just succumb. And it could be whether you wake up to it or not. It is, not my say. You can wake up to it or not. It's your choice. But you might be like, oh, who am I here? Hang on. Wait, who am I here? And the story might be like this. If you are constantly in a state of rearrangement, if you are constantly in a state of work, if you're constantly doing this, and then you might not know, but the net, the web around you gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until you're like this. But then when you hear, because we're in a consolidating month of Taurus, and I hope that all Virgos see this video, you might see, okay, I'm consolidated, okay, I feel safe. It's almost like I can't really do anything, there's not enough space, so I'm just going to type. Okay, so it's very, very easy here to get solid. The most weirdest thing, the awful thing here is I feel that sometimes Virgos cannot say stop, they cannot say no, and they won't give it a try to do something else. And with us, people with Virgo aspects, with anybody with this, it is very, very hard sometimes to know which way is next. It is not quite easy to understand which also confusion is which, because occasionally people that work the most are the ones that are most confused about themselves on the inside. And when we have Virgo do this, it is very heartbreaking to us because we don't want you to. Nobody really needs you to do 3,000 things for a million different people, but this is what happens. Virgo's typing away, Virgo, looking through the stuff, Virgo going about their day, Virgo driving, Virgo doing. And at the beginning there was this, perhaps some of you guys, some have really tried to be creative during Aries, really stretched out and really tried to be more like the grand piano and not the little clavecine. You really tried, you really stretched out. But here we have a very, very succumbing energy. So if you are a Virgo and you have Virgo aspects like myself, would be so great not to force yourself, of course, because there are some things that are just natural. We just have to understand what is just natural here for us and not fight it too much or not walk against it. But maybe discover in you, for you, what is the feeling of other things except for sequencing or except for getting things right. Like, for example, friends. Huh? When are they gonna come over? Huh? How come? You know, who's there? When you look at this, you might want to try and put, if you are overworking, it's not good. Maybe a little bit less emphasis on what you are good at in terms of sequencing. Even though we are all asked to be efficient during this particular month, you may now start looking at what you are not as creative in. And maybe you're going to start perhaps looking at what you are not as good at as other people. Perhaps, like, for example, you can type up a storm, but can you ride a bike? You know? Or will you be able to maybe skate? Try that. It isn't for everyone, but maybe for some of you guys, for some of us people with Virgo elements, it could be very nice just to stretch ourselves in a slightly different direction and not to try and do the same thing over and over. And this can also be very, very diminishing as well for others. So if you have got a very nice mission and you're very clear and you don't really mind, you don't want to think about other things, and then pulling yourself away to go to the ice skating ring, you know, just to make sure that you can ice skate as well, you know, as do a million other things, it's not so good. But what I mean here is to try and find that level of vulnerability. And maybe even sometimes for Virgos, a slight feeling of shame or like that feeling of, you know, nonsense can sometimes bring about a very interesting discontinuation and perhaps like a feeling of loneliness or lowliness. But out of this at the same time comes a new prospect, a new project, or a new connection. The thing is not to work here too hard or too fast. I'm just trying to help you get more malleable with your life. Because at the moment it feels to me that a lot of work and workers are like on the forefront. There's like a working energy and there's like a frequency of wanting to do. And even if it is in a creative situation, it's still wanting to do. And even if you're like scrolling through Facebook while on the toilet, it's still wanting to do, trying to do, making sure you're doing. It feels to be like a resonance. And even if you are, for example, laying in bed or in a hammock and you're relaxing with a martini, you may not quite know it, but you are still doing. You know, you're still working, you're still trying, you're still thinking a lot, or maybe you're trying to do. As I've mentioned in previous videos, thought is a little bit futile during this type of month. So it'll be very actually interesting to not notice it, but by paying attention to what is new, paying attention to perhaps what you miss in your life. You know, you might not know this, but you might not really perhaps even fear enough that you haven't done a few things that other people have, or you might not really want to think about this too much, but perhaps there are certain types of openings or expansions that you've missed out on as a child by being a bit sheltered or being a little bit unaware, or maybe you have not yet quite lived. But unfortunately, during a special type of period in their life, sometimes Virgos don't care. They would just like to structure and practice and become more important at who they already are. And yes, I did say this about this month, is that we are becoming more mature. And sometimes Virgo can see that beyond all else and value that, or worship even, you know, maturity, intellect, power, structure, and law and systems and order. For goodness sakes, you know, even people and, you know, politicians, political figures, and other types of authority over who they are or who they've always wanted to be. So if you are going into your memories, if you are going into a little bit of a time machine this month, please don't forget who you were, and please don't forget who you are as a child still, because all time is compressed. You know, you didn't just like grow out of something. It was always kind of a part of you. So it would be very, very perfect to see you as the opposite of who you are sometimes as well. just in order to not be stuck and not to get too confronted later, perhaps when we spend a long time working, or we spend a long time offering ourselves again and again and again and again, and everybody's a little bit of like a blind calf to the slaughter, during this time, as we are in Taurus. If we don't offer ourselves again and again and again and again, perhaps underneath it we will start to find that we never really wanted ourselves to be offered. Perhaps we actually really wish to be free, and everything just to make sense by itself without us having to put so much work into it. So idealist views also are not so great here for Virgos, but unfortunately it feels to me that sometimes we will not get there unless we try to see all sides, both sides of the story, and look at it here. It's like how to see you are, for example, working way too hard and doing way too much on one side, and then on the other side your life is getting smaller and tighter around you, which it inevitably kind of does. But then there's also others who have done not what you've done and still achieved a great deal of success and clarity, trying not to do things in the same process, maybe mixing ideas up, trying to pull yourself away from the computer screen. Making sure that you're not spending hours and hours in a process that perhaps could take a few minutes. Learning is not easy here, but maybe there are some types of things you can do just to stretch your reality a little bit, to stretch your perception of where you are, and make sure that you don't get stuck. So very much thankful to you, Virgo, for being here, for helping me, and for watching my stuff. And if you would like to know more about me or about you, check out the links below. Also, please take a look at Ascendant, Sun, Stellar, and Moon versions of yourself. So if you, for example, have a Taurus moon, have a look at that as well if you like, if that will help you perhaps get a bigger picture of your world during May. Thank you very much, Virgo, and enjoy your time, and I will see you next time. Hi guys, thank you very much for being here. Paulina here, talking to you about your Libra and your month of May. Alright, you've done it, okay? You've done the stuff, Libra. You have made, I feel, a few promises to people that are a little bit too much, and perhaps you have tied yourself in, or have you? So unless you haven't, so having a look at your balance in the last few months. So we talked about this in April as to the bobsled, and helping yourself, making an easy ride, an easy ride in your life. If you have been taking it easy and letting things go and not having to do so much in the previous month, you may already find that there is like a weirdly interesting amount of work piling up. Perhaps the work is different or the world is different, but there is a new type of pile up or a new type of perhaps situation to solve, and maybe there are new types of people to deal with, and maybe there is a new opportunity spectrum. So why not? Maybe taking advantage of this new terrain, taking advantage of this new terrain, taking advantage of this new person, or taking advantage of these new situations, people, and other stories, and learning how to work within this new environment. That's very, very nice, and no doubt it is an upgrade. If you have taken yourself out of previous situations, you might have new situations, new terrains, new problem solving to do. But if you haven't, you may not probably see it, but you sort of maybe a little bit stuck into process here, which is maybe not right for you, or maybe you are not yet outgrowing who you were. It is your choice as to how you like to do. Maybe you're a very traditional Libra person and you want to keep things safe and sane, or maybe you're not and you'd like to try something else. It is all right, it is fine. However, what is not fine sometimes during this type of energy is you could do a few things over the top, and you could make a few mistakes by not knowing how to measure. And it may be that you are pulling in a lot, or you are forcing something new. The most malleable and beautiful time could be wasted trying to stick to somebody or to something. It may be wasted by trying to make a relationship repeat itself. Also, it may be that you are wishing for another to know you so much that you are showing up to every gig that they're playing. but they do not know who you are yet. It may be that you are wishing for that brand or the company or something to give you a chance so much, and you're pushing and pushing and pushing, but where are you? Where were you? Why do you do so much? And sometimes it really is about cutting down the information, probably for me too, as I'm a fellow Libra. Sometimes maybe it is about chilling out a little bit, perhaps sometimes it is more about not giving any more interest to those old ideas or those old situations. Maybe perhaps it is not so much about you traumatizing yourself and trying so hard again. Maybe perhaps it is just about laying things down and letting them be themselves. And occasionally you might find when you stop confusing yourself and you allow things to just be, and you take maybe 4 or 5 steps away from the conversation or the story, and you're looking at what you're actually doing or what you're trying to do, and the types of people that are involved, or whoever is your partner, or whoever you're looking at, or whatever is that brand that you're trying to promote. Take a few steps right back and look at it for a good minute. Okay, just feel it. And the more you could do it, maybe the more steps you might want to take back, and the more steps you might want to take back until you're walking out of the system. If you aren't able to walk and you're taking a few steps back and saying, oh my goodness, what am I doing? And you're in fear and you're afraid that you do not want to let go of the story or the situation, these people, that's not really easy. But if there's fear, you have to run. So if you're in fear, so you took a few steps back and you saw the situation or what you've roped yourself in or what you've been trying for dear life to do, you may now probably satisfy yourself in the knowledge that you're the only one who can do the thing that perhaps this person wants you to do, or you're the only one who can provide the service. But if there is fear and you're afraid, and you're like, say, seeing the next 2-3 years of your life, and you like feeling mind boggled, and you like go, especially if your face changes color, like you go pale or you go red, and you feel like a fear about where you are, then it's time to go, like really, really pick up and do the thing. It is not easy. Okay, so here, if you are not happy with it, if you are feeling anxious, if you do not want to know something, if you are closing your eyes, if you're really, really not considering yourself, if you're like pushing yourself somewhere, especially if you're pushing, that is somewhere where you probably do not need to be anymore. So unless you are somebody who is really, really, really in tune, quite often Libras will be in the face of adversity during this type of time, and you might be or this type of year even pushing and trying and smiling and gritting your teeth and going through it, even though Jupiter's being for your sign, so really things should not be an effort for you. And if you are on the untuned side of Libra, it should not be about them. It should be definitely directly up to you. And you might be delighted and a little bit frightened, because sometimes we're really afraid of ourselves and our own identity, Libras, or the power that we have. You might be really, really delighted or frightened and instantly attuned if you see that if you just step yourself away from the situation a little bit, it will crumble. You think that this person has got you, or you think that this company has got you like this, and like what people in Russia say, hedgehog gloves, like they're holding you like this in prickly gloves, They're not. You just walk away a little bit, you just leave them alone for an hour and they're a crumbling mess. So also with these types of situations, you have no idea perhaps the power, the control that you have, unless you are wanted and needed and trusted and asked to do. Occasionally a Libra will not see the type of control, power, and sometimes unconscious dominance that they have over the world, in which they are, or over the presence or the person they have in their life. So unconsciously domineering Libra cannot be for long, and that is something that is really, really important for you to see. If you're in a situation, a relationship, or a contract, or a conflict, or something where you know that it is all held by you, and you're not sure as to why that doesn't sit well, perhaps it might be interesting to ask as to why am I hired in this place? Why am I doing? So asking Libra, what is the plan? What is the place? What are the ins and outs of the story? What are the different types of systems in which you are working? Why are you still not able to create peace and harmony where you are, if that is the case, or if that is the story? What are the different types of systems in which you work, and why are you still protruding as something that you're not if you are, or why are you still the support or the life force or the portal for somebody where you do not get that much from it? So also keep in mind those unconscious experiences where you zone out and you switch off, or you just don't care, you're not there, but another person benefits. And also, unless you're a channel like myself, and also like the types of situations where you are, you know, caring for your children, or you're caring for your husband or your wife or something, and you just don't even know that they're there, and you just, yes honey, okay, you want a cup of tea, okay, 2 sugars, yeah, coming right up, and you just don't even understand who you are, who you've been the whole time. That's very, very interesting to see. So just showing up, just kind of like being there, just being almost like blindly like, yes, 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 honey, yeah, I will do that. Even waking up in the morning, you're still asleep. It's like, what do you want for breakfast? You want eggs? Yeah, you want eggs? Okay, you want them scrambled or fried this time? Okay, so when you are in the situation where you are autopiloting life and you really don't mind and you're not connecting, especially if you are half asleep, it is an interesting other extreme, you know, the opposite extreme. Or maybe not, you know, with pushing being one and then being half asleep being another. It may be very, very good to awaken as to what you're doing. It is very good to question and to ask for more. In May, you might want to also do maybe perhaps some karmic jobs for other people. Maybe you want to take care of business for others, take out the trash and do maybe slightly uncomfortable things like this, just to make it a smooth ride for somebody else if your ride is no longer smooth. So having a look at your world. Are you in a very weird situation? Do you feel everything's surreal? Is something dead about your world? Is there something that is not comfortable? Is there something cold or prickly? It may be very, very nice to do a few things for others, just to see if maybe your goodwill will rub off on you and give you a smoother ride too. It's an interesting conversation with another. You might find a very, very safe friend out in the middle of nowhere. You might find luck sometimes meets you where you do not want to go, or you might find that where you haven't been before is the luckiest place in the world. It might be some type of serenity that takes over and then leads you to the right direction. You might find that when you're just out of steam, you find the wings that you need, or you might be in the presence of a person that could be the only person that can help you here. And it may be not sometimes entirely up to you. It is almost like entirely up to the world to lead you to the right direction here, or the right places in the world. It could be like a very, very silly, a very easy way forward through almost unconscious behavior. But by working too much, staying around, doing the thing and not being sure why is not an easy way to go, because what happens sometimes during a consolidating month like we have now is you can get put into a situation where you're still working on the thing that could have taken an hour, but you are doing this within 7 hours. Just, you know, just out of wisdom, you might feel, or like out of care. So definitely shortening the processes here, Libra, for all of us. Another couple of things, Libra, is that don't dominate another. Say if you are watching your life and you're getting a little bit bored, it would be very easy for Libra to dominate another person and to tell them what to do, and also to get fiery. So watch yourself. If you're giving advice, if you're giving love, and you're getting fiery, if you're getting extra sensual, extroverted, extra interested in another person, there's a chance that you're not giving enough to you. So having a look to you, Libra, now is very important. Luck can turn itself around. Okay, so we've got Jupiter coming to you. We've got full moon illuminating Jupiter at the beginning of the month. Luck is coming to you, but are we able to see who you are? And if you haven't yet done your work, if you haven't cuddled yourself enough, loved yourself enough, and completed the previous cycles in the month before, and if you didn't really want to find ease for yourself, luck sometimes can go towards you, it can go past you and into somebody else's arms. It is very, very interesting here. So if you're not developed, if you're not, say, developing your feelings, if you're not, you know, it's like if you're not active, you're like, I'm going to work, I'm proactive because I'm at work, you know, if you're not developing you, and if you haven't really taken enough inertia and enough stimulus in the month before, and you haven't really, like considered yourself during Aries. It could be that luck comes in and luck goes out and into somebody else's life. So it's very easy or very simple to have somebody even like hit you up about like a piece, like a client, wants to buy your art piece, and then they're almost there, and they like bend around you and go elsewhere. If you haven't yet identified and what to do here is you can't do anything, but you will see. Watch this, watch this. Okay, so when you have a person walking towards you and then they bend around you and go somewhere else that you really like, make sure that you know who you are here. And sometimes it can be something else, but if you're watching, say, people are, like you're dating people, you're walking towards clients and they're like bending around you, going somewhere other than you. Watch what ends up in your lap, what ends up in your net. You might actually find that, say, you were very lucky in love, not lucky with money, or you might like yourself with money, you might not be lucky with love. Or you may not be asking for the right people. It's very, very interesting to identify yourself. Occasionally when you are looking at someone, you want them, or you want something to notice you there, and it looks to you, but it bends around you, goes elsewhere. Either you're not ready to understand yourself, or you aren't looking for them, you're looking for something else unconsciously, and it all comes back to self-understanding. So thank you very much, Libra. I hope you develop yourself more during this time, and don't be afraid to say no. So thank you very much, and enjoy your month of May. Oh, my delicious Scorpio, how much more do we know? Too many things. Too many things. Hi. Okay, so Scorpios, we have a lot on our plate, and we don't understand. And with great knowledge or with great reality checks, we can not be for long. We have to bury them deep within us. We got to give them away. We got to do something. So it's almost like you have all these jewels. You have all these jewels, and unfortunately, you've made too many things. You might have accidentally had too much luck, or you might have generated too many partners. You might have just, been able to do a little bit too many things, and you maybe have many clients now. You maybe have many dreams to weave for others. You might have too many opportunities. You have too much context. You have too much matter. You have too much material, raw material for something, and you may just need to do nothing. Okay. Scorpio, you have in your hands or in your mind and your heart something very different. And it may not be what you needed, what you wanted, or what you were really after, and might not even be at all what you were thinking about, but you generated. Okay? And it may not be right for you, you think, or you may need to grow up and into that which you have. Okay? Okay. For example, you have never wanted to collect all this information. It just kind of memorized itself. It just kind of brought itself to you. You never wished for it. You weren't like running around asking. By asking for something else by accident, you just had this. And it may not match you now, but consider, okay, create a pact here if you could, to understand you. Just see what is in front of you, what you have actually become through what this year of Jupiter in your sign is taught. Huge mistakes can be here if you are not identifying with what you've accumulated. For instance, a huge database of clients. You don't like it, you get afraid. You're maybe asking, why don't I have this yet? Why don't I have that yet? Just succumb, Scorpio. Okay, so you have generated. Okay, say for example, you have a lot of money coming through nothing. Say like you have a very unconscious business, or you have a very strange way of generating it, and perhaps you don't identify with it. You're just looking at it and you're like, oh, whoa, I wanted to know something more. I thought I'd be something else. And here Scorpio goes, I'm not this, I'm something else. I'm greater than this, or like I'm not as good as this. And also this can be very harsh in relationships. Okay, you can have a friend come over, you can have money come over, you can have people come over, you can have something come over, and something is held in your hand, Scorpio. You have got a lot of something, and this disassociation from it can be like, why do you love me? Why do you come to me? Are you stupid? Like, why does this come to me? Why am I lucky here? You are all lucky Scorpios in something during your Jupiter transit here in your sign, and you might get a lot of it, or it might be something quite sharp and obvious as to what it is. And here you might have to glow, not go, glow, and understand, okay, so this was very hard. You know, this was very hard. And now I have, say for example, some of the best, you know, things in the world in my hands. Like say I've got one of the greatest things in my hands. Like say for example, it was very, very hard for me to achieve this type of work. And now, and here it is, and it's just like a puppy in my hands. You're gonna throw the puppy out and just go somewhere else? No, 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 no. Don't do anything like this. Associate with it and then start loving it, okay? So you've got something. Don't throw anything out, okay? You've got something, Scorpio. You might have money from a business or an issue or a thing that you never thought you would do with. You might have a person or a presence in your life, or you might even have a culture or place which you have never thought about that is just so easy for you. Okay, you might have a person in the palm of your hands. You may not know this, but there might be quite a few people in the palms of your hands here, and to just crush them, not a good idea. Okay, so watch in May, especially with people. Who's there? Who's sensitive? You know, and yes, perhaps before, in the last few years, they weren't there. You know, maybe before, like this type of woman or this type of man was not appropriate for you, was not possible to generate. But here, okay, people come into your palms, Scorpio, okay? People come into your hands. And they don't want to maybe, but they just come in like this, okay? And they come to you, and maybe there's a reality check. Maybe you've been the only one for them. Lovers can come back during this time. Partners can come back, you know? Maybe you were the only person that really had an impact, okay? Maybe you were the only person that really empathized. Maybe there is, maybe there is an empathetic, emotional connection to you, or there is an unlikely chance here, but it is possible. People who have not yet wanted anything else. People have not tried, they're not understood the flavor of anything else. They see you, they want you, they understand, they can taste you. It's like they can taste that which you provide. And then here you are with these things, okay, God, you know, all these different things in your hands here. You know, you got all these things that have before been unheard of maybe, or before perhaps have been the center of your world and you couldn't accomplish them, and here they are now. Okay, so you have something, all right? And here you have to cherish it, whatever has come in. Whatever it is that needs you, dotes on you, naturally comes and naturally kind of holds you. And it's a beautiful, heart-tearingly sensitive and unique way to heal your own wounds. Because occasionally, yeah, okay, so this is there, this has come to you, you know, this has been maybe an important mission for you, or this has become one of the systems of self-worth, and who you have not yet been isn't out there somewhere, like after you crush this and you go there. No, 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 no. This is all inside. So what to take care of is look at what you have. Look at what you have, Scorpio. So your mama, your papa, you know, what they are doing, who's turning around towards you, what's coming in, you know, who wants to invite themselves over to you, who's interested, you know, who's paying you attention, what is walking itself towards you, what type of money that's coming in that is easy, you know, like what type of information that's coming in that you can just generate that is easy, what types of people that are coming towards you that are just completely here, what is there that is completely, it's almost like a string of things and it's just coming in, it's almost to the point, like, don't get carried away here, Scorpio. And you can say, like, I've been the underdog all my life and now it's boring, I can have this, and you can even, unless you're in a situation where you're just starting to say no to abuse, for example, you know, but you can say a lot of no here, Scorpio, with things that are coming in. Unless it is something else, like, okay, For instance, okay, you're a person who has always developed feelings where you have been the captive or the service person to another who's been, say, very rude to you or very concerning to you. Say you're in an extremely submissive and dominant type of relationship spectrum, always, usually with other people, for example. And now you're starting to say no because the chain of what has been is starting to clear. Every person on the chain is a slightly different version of the previous and, you know, of the new. So say you can have chains of people coming in, you can have gold mines of people discovered, and sometimes if you don't like what you see, sometimes you get to clear water, but only if you are healing a spectrum. Say you are a woman and now you're dating again, and you want to make sure that you don't just corrupt yourself and give yourself away. There's, like, say, an abuse cycle, for example, with me, and I've had that at the situation. So say, for example, meeting people and you saying, I don't know, I don't want to know, I don't want to know until I can see something that I can actually relate to on the human level without having to submit myself into service. That's a very interesting idea. So in a situation of connectability for women, or for women who enjoy men, trying to recognize what Jupiter is in your sign for you, if you're a Scorpio, you know, wanting to understand the masculine energy more, trying to vicariously look at it is not going to be good, but sort of paying attention as to what really triggers you and sets you off during your time, when you're actually spending time. You know, has this person been rude to you? Has this person been corrupting you? Has this person been actually really unbeknownstly ugly, or unbeknownstly, like, really unwell with you? But also not taking that into consideration this month too much unless it's part of your story or that's part of your culture or experience. Because I feel for all of us ladies, actually, in the world generally, Jupiter is getting a new name, is getting a new face here in Scorpio. We are corrupting the previous attraction cycles and divine masculine cycles and divine feminine cycles perhaps as well, in terms of relationship material and what is good and what is not. And that is definitely festered for a long time in terms of acceptability and focus and mind and, you know, manners and all these things. So having a look at that. If you want it to be true, okay, Jupiter in your sign, Scorpios, for all Scorpios, if you want it to be true and you're just not, and perhaps you don't know, you don't care, you don't need, really take care of what you have gathered during this month of April, what you have really become during the previous few months, 4 months or so. Really, occasionally, yeah, it's a very nice time to just throw it all away. We're in a consolidating fixed sign of Taurus. If you could please hold what you have, understand first. And occasionally, sometimes, the more you understand what you have, the more is given. But to fly off, to call people, you know, to force yourself into somebody else's life, and this is really interesting, it's ironic, because you probably always wanted to be wanted or needed. You're like a little bit of a rock star, you know, Scorpio. You're like a little bit of a rock star. You know, you want to go on the other side of the planet and be wanted by someone else, or you wanted to be making something more. But consider sometimes how they say a bird in the hand is better than two in the sky, okay? And with us Scorpios here, sometimes the more we look at what you have, you know, the more we look at what we have, and the more we love it, the more we cherish it, the more we play with it, the more we nurse it, the more we like it, the more grateful we are for what we have accepted ourselves to be and what we have accomplished in the last while, especially in the last month. The luckiest the ideas are that come to us, the luckier the people are that approach us, okay? But if we are not feeling lucky already, and if we are playing with this something in our hands, like it was made of just nothing, okay, guess why? Sometimes Scorpio feels scorned is because they throw away and they rip up what they've got. And then they're looking for something else out there to take their breath away, or to be a passion, or to be some kind of like a strong feeling. But it's not, because you don't understand what it is in the now. So definitely, Scorpio, take care of what you have and teach us all what you've got. And then from this, perhaps, in the future, in the next while, can come a supernova of expansion, as long as you can take care of us, people who are in the palm of your hand, and also take care of things that are nurturing you. So thank you very much, Scorpio. Check out your Ascendant, Sun, Moon, and clusters. Check out my website if you'd like a reading, maybe, why not? And let me know how you go. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful month, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye. Hi, beautiful Sagittarius. Sagittarius. Okay, there are some great areas. We have areas that are great for Sagittarius. Unfortunately, by thinking that you are straight and completely narrow, you will, exactly as you always do, get what you need, but you will not get what you have to have. I feel that you can perhaps succumb to a certain type of role again, or maybe create for yourself a life where you are again doing things you used to do, or succumbing to a lesser joy. I feel that that's not so good. So if you can become more clear and creative, take pride in your appearance, you know, make a sense of you, and how can I say, don't become a previous era of your life. So for example, if you're 38 and you are seeing that perhaps where you went in April was really fast, really high pitched, really high volume, and then perhaps when you are here now in May, maybe you're thinking, relax, you know, I'll just do things how I wanted to do them when I was in my 20s, you know, this can work, you know, that's still good, you know, it's like you're opening the fridge of life, you know, and you're picking up some container that's expired a month ago and you're saying, I'll still eat that, that's okay. So don't eat the old container of expired food, please, Sagittarius. You don't have to succumb. So you do not have to enjoy a grey life. You can have a greater, perhaps better life if yes, you know, you keep yourself in check, but you keep going with the new. Like, where were you last? Like, how far did you get? You know, like, how far did you aim? Like, how far did you get? Like, what was the recent aim? What was the recent human that you really connected with? What was that fresh, like, strong, sensuous vibe? Like, what was that feeling? But sometimes wisdom is a very interesting thing here for Sagittarius. We've got wisdom conjunct moon, and you might see, you know, maybe it's not so clear. It is clear. So have a look at your emotional spectrum in the last few years. Maybe we're all looking at time. Maybe you don't have to go so fast to your 20s if you're in your 30s. Have a look at the last few years. What has really inspired you? What has really inspired you, Sagittarius? Because your timelines, unfortunately, perhaps, are not the best sometimes. Like, how you work with time may not be the best. Though you're always true, you're always yours, you're always you, you're always renewing. But at the same time, it feels to me that you can sometimes spark up a conversation with yourself based on, like, oh, me at 24, and how old are you now? I'm 49. Okay, no. You're 24 energetically for Sag does not usually exist. You know, unless it's a very bright star, you know, expansion, you know, at that age that you decided to sort of keep around like old regalia. But at the same time, you don't need to go too far back. You know, we're all kind of like going back for our timeline, seeing what worked for us. But in terms of becoming your 24-year-old self again, that is not worth it. Why? It's because it's just not new. It's not connective. It's not going to give you the best stars or the best aim with your bow, you know, like, so if you can, the Saturn returning to its own sign of Capricorn is very good for us, you know, Sagittarius. It is very nice to see yourself in retrospect for the last, you know, 3 or 4 months, and perhaps also maybe the last few years, not to go too far back, just to have a look at the sparkiest, most exciting moments, and to make sure that the reality that you are creating or connecting to in May is not grey. It is not a very easy, flamboyant month. You know, this is not just about aiming high, going everywhere, doing anything. We have you at heart though, okay? So with people, you have a very nice connection. You really had a choice here to take in as much grandeur and as much focus with us as possible, because that effect will not last. There were certain types of platforms that perhaps were open for you that now will not easily be for you. You know, there'll be places closing off as well. So perhaps you had a lot of authority during Saturn going through your sign, and a few other things happening in the sky as well. And you've had a few months to really resonate with us as a great guide, a great teacher, a great person, a great wanted being, somebody's very popular and very fantastic, being employed just for who you are and being just the star of the show. Definitely Sagittarius have a huge capacity to be that always, yes, and you are very special for us, but here something is closing in. And what I mean is the situation of success, you know, the easy, cheap success. Like if you got used to being a little bit more authoritative and a little bit more wanted and needed in the last few months and maybe even like a year, you know, this is not going to be the same case. So the people that before were, wow, you know, you're like my father, there's something about you, I just trust you, that's gonna be a no. So there's going to be perhaps people that have said yes before to you and now can say a no. Perhaps there's industries and situations that were available to you as you were surprisingly lucky with Saturn going through the last degrees of your first house, where now you perhaps do not have as much luck or the biggest burst of light. So with a lot of Sagittarians, there were definitely careers. We were really asked to help you teach us. We were really asked to help you guide us. We were really concerned about you, or we really were like in your pocket or something like that. And here in May, we are not really looking to you for those particular things. It is really hard sometimes, could be quite even harsh sometimes, to recognize that those people, those starry-eyed, blue-eyed, you know, open-eyed, you know, any colored-eyed people that were really excited about you at first might not be. So the thing here is not to get too unimportant, because sometimes Sagittarius can go, oh well, and then they can go backwards to their previous era. And sometimes they can dance a dance with life that is very 80s or 90s and doesn't really like suit them today. So it might also be very good with you guys to also let you go, you know, let you go, because we can't really control you. We never could. You know, other people cannot control you. Other people cannot really even understand what sometimes a Sagittarius will whoop out. And that's all part of you. But we have to also let you know sometimes that you do not understand your worth as much, or you do not understand what you mean to us, perhaps, until it's too late. You know, sometimes you guys don't understand what you meant to another person until it's too late. You guys can sometimes not understand the worth in the company that you hold until it's too late, or until somebody else gets the raise, or until, you know, you walk away, you understand that you were actually really wanted and needed. You just had to be a little bit more sharp about what you were. And the idea is basically not to give yourself away and not to sell yourself short to anything. There's a big opportunity, I feel, for all of you in terms of money and all of these situations. Very nice to gain self-worth out of nowhere, but also not to judge or criticize it, because something can give you a lot of self-worth that comes from the past, or that's sort of like in between dimensions, or in between the lines, and it can only give it to you now also as well. So somebody can come in and say, hey, you know, the company, like, we've got a place for you, open up, you know, are you gonna come with? And you can say, nah, I'm not, and thinking that's going to be available all the time, but this might be the last chance, or it could be the last wake-up call for you from a partner. They can say, actually, I would really like to negotiate things here, and I would really like to get nervous, you know, and honest about things, and really feel what it is like to be together, you know, what it is like for you, I want to know. And you can say, no, I don't want to know, I don't want to know, I can talk about this later. And sometimes you can't, so situations here are limited. And especially if you have something coming back, because we've got Saturn and Pluto return you second, and we're in the collective second house. If you got somebody coming back, if you got something coming back to you and it's asking you like, how you doing? Also in terms of health and all these other things, work related things, something's coming back, something's asking you, what's up? Like, what do you want to do here? Like, how are things going? What are, you know, what other networks we're building? What are the connections we're building? Sometimes you can say, you know, I don't want to do this right now. And that is when the bubble pops, and perhaps you will never be able to resume that previously acquired place. Also, sometimes with this type of timeline, you may not do the work, but deserve the result sometimes here, or you might get payout, a big payout for what you've done before. And it also might be very cheap and easy and quick to do things that before were outstandingly hard. But if you are saying, oh, it's easy, you know, okay, once it's easy, that's easy, you know, that's done. There can be something that rubs off badly on you later, so you might not commit or not feel how can I say, it's like respectful enough of a situation, and not really want the situation, or not really feel like it deserves you, or like you can even feel like you're beyond it, or you're above it, or something is not interesting for you, or you actually perhaps feel like this interesting false optimism, or maybe, yeah, false optimism, and you feel like you're a simple person, you know, I'm a simple man, I'm a simple woman, you know, I'm so great, I'm so happy-go-lucky, I will have this any day, and occasionally this is not it. So if you, for example, are a person who receives like a lot of money here, or is offered a contract, or, you know, somebody comes back for you, especially somebody who is masculine or authoritative, even yeah, women from the past too, but it's got an authoritative edge to it. It's got a very glam, or very, very connected, very adult edge to it. And something says to you, hey, so do you want to finally take this chance? Or would you like to finally have this opportunity? And you can say, you know, this is going to come back every time. Or like, this is going to be something that I don't even fish for, and it just comes through. This could be the last chance. And also reconsider all things that are heavy and wise and connected and considerate, because occasionally you might not see it, but you can slip away. You can slip away thinking, I don't need to do anything here. This is not my choice. And this can be at either frequency. Either you could say, this is too hard for me, or it is not important for me now, I will consider it later. And you can sort of slip out into another conversation, another situation. But you may not know this, but you may miss this something that you're slipping away from later, or it might have something for you. It might have a situation for you. It might have a very, very amazing opportunity for you. It might have advice for you. It might have a home for you. There might be something on the cards. There might be something very tangible, very grown up, and very practical with what you are slipping out of. And then you're thinking, I can, you know, yeah, I don't value this. So the energy is devaluation. You're not valuing what is coming through. You're devaluing what is coming through. And there can sometimes be an unconscious not wanting to value of yourself. So please value who you are, Sagittarius, and try to be more nurtured and well this month. Also understanding who you have been has to be done in a more quick and easy and reciprocative way, instead of trying to relive a time of your life consciously, like trying to embody yourself 2 or 3 years ago. This is not about that. This is basically just knowing what does and does not work, but also keep an eye on structure, superiority, grace, status. All of this is not bad, but it can be given to you easily now. Somebody might say, hey, can you sign this paper? Can you be part of this group, part of this project? Can you represent? And you might say no now, but then later in another couple of years, it might not be up to you anymore, and this group might choose somebody else. So definitely take control. Take time, take control, and be more together. You can do it. So maybe it won't be easy, but it might be worth it. So thank you very much, Sagittarius. Have a great time. Check out your moon, sun, ascendant, and stelliums, and check out information about me and the caption below, and enjoy your month. Thanks. Bye. Hi, Capricorn. Thank you very much for being here. Paulina here talking to you. And wow, what a specimen you are. You are a specimen. You're a special specimen. You're a specimen. Do not just stay a specimen. You're very interesting. You're fabulous. You're fantastic. We need to get you circulating, going to places, and being yourself, okay? So we've got to have some kind of game plan for you, okay? We've got to make sure that this is like so fantastic, okay? This is the best time to get you there. Okay, so you might be like a specimen. It's like, I have my portfolio, and here I am with my portfolio. Hi, guys. Hi. Okay, so the portfolio is good. It's not the point. So you have the portfolio, Capricorn, and it's good for you, and it is nice for us. But here we do not value you unless you are you. You are yours, and you turn up, and you're funny. We like it when you're funny. During this particular month, we just really want to be next to you and hold your hand. We really want to just look at your eyes and say pretty things. We're not really concerned how you dress. We don't want to really look at the details of your work. We don't really want to understand why you did something. We don't really want to know exactly the type of method that you chose for those watercolors. We don't need you to really structure a physical appearance based on the type of work that you think you would like at this point in time. It's just so nice to see you. Hey, how's it going? Yeah. Oh my God, you're so beautiful when you're awkward. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so awkward people do really well here. Awkward people. So if you are slightly unnerved, if you are a little bit strong, if you're a little bit like a little bit creepy sometimes, or you laugh funny, we want you. We want you teeth and all. We want everything about you. We want your funny eyes. We like it when you squint just with one eye. You know, we like it when you snarl, when you're laughing. We want you, and we want to understand who you have been. But it is not a dating show. It is not something that is enticing, enamoring, or sensual unless you really try. And sometimes Capricorns can really like affirm such a beautiful energy that we like get really involved and really in love with you, and then we don't really understand who we are. So in terms of trying to like romance us, you know, pull us in and being like, I am Dracula, you know, like being like a little bit a little bit strange and like conforming us to you is very, very easy actually during this time. You can really take our breath away, but the thing is not to do that. The thing is just to be human and just to be you. Hi guys, I snort when I laugh, and I've done this since I was 12 years old, you know, like I'm really goofy, like, you know, I got a really weird sense of humor, like, okay, good, okay, so we love you, and we want you exactly who you are. As you know, as us, you know, we don't understand what we're doing sometimes without you during this type of month. Very nice to instruct people, very good to be in a position of control, very nice to ask for maybe perhaps a slightly higher raise. In terms of positions, I feel that you are already there. Positions are good. Tapping people on the shoulder, being the class clown is probably okay, you know, for some of you guys, being the person who checks somebody else's work. And sometimes with times like this, the only type of energy that we want is you. We want you to be our father, we want you to be our brother, our sister, our mom. We want you to walk around and look at us and check our work and make sure that we're okay, smile politely and walk to the other side of the room. We absolutely uninterested in other things. Perhaps we just would like you, but keep in mind that sometimes it's very interesting for certain Capricorns to get a disciple that they cannot carry, you know, to get a person who loves you that doesn't want to love themselves, you know, or to get a few people in a row that don't understand that you're not actually specializing in what you're doing, you're just laughing, you know. There is a very, very interesting thing as we kind of like sheep to the slaughter. Yes sir, you know, and we're kind of walking after you, and that is not okay. So also consider how you'd like to create a sustainable future for yourself socially in terms of romance, relationships, and work as well. Do you want to be the best? Do you want to be the best? Do you want to be the cavernous stranger who say laughs about your students after class? Like say you're a teacher and you have like a class of maybe like 7 to 10 people or something, and you've got a very personal relationship with each person, then you go home to your wife or husband and you laugh about each one of them, you talk about them and you have a little laugh, you're like, well, what are these people doing? So very, very careful with that. If you've got some kind of a laughter and a joy about you being the only one in a company that specializes in certain type of music, being certain type of person that is special for certain type of machinery, or that one tech support person that can actually get the job done right, and you are the only one. You're the only one, perhaps for somebody, you are the only one for another. It is very, 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 very crazy little ride for them, and don't underestimate it. And perhaps if you never really loved yourself before, you might say, well, it's just silly old me. You can't love me for real, you know, like, this is not important. But they don't know that. They don't understand Taurus, you know, it's like lamb to the slaughter time. So if we are very, very, very peaceful and serene with you, and we're really trying, sometimes you might not see it, but we actually are like almost crying how much we try. We might be very, very sensitized by you. People might be very, very involved with your thoughts or your dreams. People might be very awakened by your holiness, or, you know, by the way that you are, the way that you structure your sentences, the way that you dance, the way that you do anything. And people might be like this, and you might actually not want them at all, and you might actually even put them in the bin before you even receive them, and that's very, very hard for us to know. By doing that, you might get more of the same situations where you're surrounded by people, you're surrounded by students, you're surrounded by work, you're surrounded by different types of miracles that are really beautiful, you know, people understanding you, people like going towards you, and people wanting to be even kind of partially the same. But if you, by removing yourself and standing back and looking at people and going, haha, you'll never get this, you'll never get this, you will never understand, or like having this layer of superiority over your life, it feels to me that that can give you a lot, actually, surprisingly. But what that becomes, I feel later on, is not really the type of situation you might want, and it might be a very dense and uncreative time. But for us all, I feel you will still be the beacon. So it's very interesting to see Capricorn here rise above others, and even kind of disconnect from itself, discontinue, you know, a lot of what is done before, wanting to be the best, wanting to be like at a new status, in a new smile, with a new suit, or with a new black dress, you know, becoming the beacon for others. I feel it's great. It's very rich time. It's very enriching time. It is very, very superb. It's very, very transformative. And what is very difficult and shady for us could be very, very easy and very funny for you. So it's a very, very good time to be the expert. And I feel the people that are coming to you are very, very, very perhaps emotionally like upset if you're not there, or like they are like emotionally succumbing. So I'm seeing like many people come to you, Capricorn, if you wanted to do something like that, but also nervous energy there as well. So also consider how you're structuring your relationships now, because these can be the beginnings of other relationships and other relationships and other relationships. So how you are structuring your situations with others, how you are, you know, wanting to control the space, or maybe you don't want to control. If you are laughing behind other people's backs, or if you are receiving a certain type of student or a certain type of colleague, these could stay. So definitely with us people, it's very good not to be callous and not to start unhuman relationships. What I mean unhuman relationships is when you are not looking to them as a human being, as yourself. When you are seeing, oh, I'm divided here by class, you know, I'm divided here by culture, or I'm divided here by, you know, social norms, or like I'm divided here by society's, you know, ways of separating people into different situations. If you are doing that, or if you're saying, oh, the guy is not really for me, why not, why is he not? It's like, well, because he's not really as beautiful, or, you know, as sophisticated as me. And, you know, you sort of like dividing people into not really, how can I say, human terms. It's like socialized, even kind of egoic, corrupted conformity, you know, like conformist, even classist terms, you know, racial, perhaps gender type terms. You might actually find that this continues as a pattern. You might think, oh yeah, I'm always right, that type of person does this and that. So segregating people, classing yourself, and classing what you do is very, very harsh. And although it works for a long time, and that can actually become a very, very mild consent to be that type of girl or guy, that elevates above the most, or does this the most, or does this like nobody else, and becomes a certain type of class clown, the joker, or the person that is the only blueprinter, or the one and only this. That is very easy for you here, Capricorn, to definitely become one of the best in your field, one of the best in focus. But it's not even being the best in what you do, it's the best at the effect that you have on others and how the word spreads. But it feels to me, unfortunately, that is not the most clearest heart expanding energy. But it is your choice. It is your choice. It is your choice. And you can really take advantage of us. You know, you can make us weak. You know, you can make us feel like we are only enriched by you. You have the power, you know, it's like you have the focus. It's like you got the beam, you got the might, you got the magic, you got the heart, you got something. Something inside you is not like the others. And we know this, but also work with me here. I know this is like difficult, perhaps, but consider that perhaps when you are that person and say unknowingly snickering inside, thinking, you know, of course this type of guy will always want this type of thing, or like this type of client will always want me to say this, or something like this, you are putting yourself into a jam. You know, you're putting yourself into a jam, a very, very unique, flavored, beautiful jam. You know, you are becoming an embodiment of you, which could actually be very dark later. But that also keeps you growing, I feel, creatively, and that strangely keeps you growing in your brand or business. So yes, perhaps you might want to become somebody who is a lot more powerful than another, and maybe you might want to be a lot more richer, like a lot more focused out of it, or you might actually accidentally create a very interesting link with a market, and you might actually know how to market to certain people without them even knowing that you're marketing to them. So yeah, it's very easy here to have a mind over matter approach and to do very well. So yes, congratulations Capricorn, very nice month for you. But stay alive, stay focused, and stay with us also. Being human and also being innocent and nurtured by nature, you know, nurtured by time, perhaps, understanding that it's not all about glamour, or it's not all about money, or it's not all about fame or wealth and success. So also keeping yourself grounded with that. So thank you very much, Capricorn. But of course, what you do is up to you. What you do is up to you. How you conduct yourself with other people is your choice. But that does create a big impact on your life later on. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this. If you would like to have a look at your sun, moon, ascendant, and stellar, you can. And the links below. And if you'd like to have a look at my website, you can. Thank you very much and have a wonderful time. Thanks. Hi Aquarius, it is so nice to see you. It is actually really nice to see you, Aquarius. You know why? Because you don't really care. You don't really care. I really like that about you during this particular May. I feel that you are sitting there and you're watching things unravel and you're watching the world be as it be, and you are starting to really sing inside, and you might not know it, but there is a melancholic tune or a melancholic perhaps it seems like worry, but it isn't. There is something about the Aquarius that is actually very romantic, very emotional, and very, very spiritual, enlightening, and stimulating for me. Anyway, so I feel that you're really, really growing here. I feel that you're growing a lot. I feel that you're becoming something of a miracle. I feel that you're becoming something of a character. I feel that you're becoming irreplaceable, memorable, and very, very perhaps brilliant, even annoyingly brilliant. I feel that you have a very, very subdued and beautiful response. It feels to me that you are very, very pleasant and very beautiful, and you are somebody who is very, very kindly missed somewhere. So maybe you are indeed somebody who is missing something and you are kindly missed. So memory lanes definitely here, all things mesmerizing, all things of myth and legend, all things that are beautiful, calming, even a bit archaic, a bit emotional, mythical, spiritual, and relatively ancient, I feel, are you. Ancient worlds, the ancient kings and queens, the old drama of the world is definitely yours, but it feels to me also discontinue all things that are a little bit too emotionally charged and wired towards the mythological worlds, and maybe perhaps start to see you. Sometimes during a time like this, it is not that easy for us to see you, and it is not easy for you guys to keep it real. On occasion during this type of transit, I feel Aquarian might go a little bit out there, you know, like say you might express yourself through metaphor. You might find yourself in some kind of like a very, very perhaps annoyingly for other people, unconservative way expressing. It's like, I'm Ophelia, or like, I'm Archangel Gabriel, or something like that. And you might find yourself in a mythological land so far that you actually entrench yourself in spirit, or you entrench yourself in like a very, very strange way of circulating energy, which is actually not really right. So fine lines between truth and fiction here, fine lines between the worlds. And it is actually very, very good for you sometimes during this type of time to get completely enamored or completely evolved or involved through somebody else's ideal of yourself. It actually is really nice to ask somebody closer to home than somebody far away. It is very easy to, I'm sorry, there's like a fly buzzing around. It's very, very easy to get enamored with somebody online, and they can tell you, you are like the embodiment. It's sitting on me. So it's very attacked by a fly. Okay, so yeah, last days in Bali. So you can get say enamored with somebody online, and they can tell you, you are like the sunshine, or you are like the dewdrops, and the whiskers on the kittens, and you can actually get very, very enamored and very emotional about somebody, or even some of us people describing you, emoting with you, connecting with you as something from the stars, you know, something from beyond, someone who is not like anybody else, somebody who is not seen, somebody who is not understood on the same level or spectrum as other people. And that could be very, very fine for you. But unless you are in dance and drama and you're using this towards your creative art, and even then it can be kind of awkward and kind of annoying for us. Oh, I got it. Even if you are using this type of inspiration, archaic inspiration, towards your art and things like that, for some reason it feels to me that it could be mildly annoying for us. So it feels to me that it is best just to stick to yourself. Harsh. Yeah. So to find that miracle, to find that feeling, to find that nostalgia, to find that beauty, to find that worth, to find the dream within you, and not to try and go too far out of your way. So it might be like you're dreaming about the girl, you know, that lives across the ocean, you know, say she's half this and half that, and her parents are, you know, this and this, and, you know, she's like a model, and she, like, you know, does all these crazy things, and she's like a fire twirler and la, and you've come from a very different home, you know, and say like, okay, so you're going to, for example, immigrate to this country for this person, and you've been texting each other. This is happening a lot at the moment energetically. You know, you've been watching her Instagram, you've been watching her Facebook, you know, you talk online all the time, and she makes you feel strong. But at the same time, are you really involved in your own emotional connection with your mum, for example? Are you really involved with your own emotional connection with your dad? Do you feel kind of okay about the world? Here you are, you know, do you feel fine? Probably not. So it's like, it's really nice to get in touch with yourself. And on occasion, quite occasionally with Aquarian, you don't see what is right next to you, but you want to see something else. You may want to see somebody else out there. You know, the trend continues really from the previous month. You know, you might want to like see somebody else out there. You may want to see, you know, peer around the corner. Who's over there? You know, who is not this? You know, who is that? And very easy to get yourself with a group of friends that are dressing and looking like something else, especially people that are transforming their faces to look like something else. Beings that are very much between worlds, between realms, between dimensions, to get carried away into some kind of a very, very unfocused world. It's very, very easy to embody, you know, Shakti, you know, to embody Princess, I don't know, Nefertiti. It's very easy to become the rebel, to become somebody else. And it's also much, much easier than it looks to fall in love with yourself only through a certain type of demeanor. So it's like, I'm only in love with myself when I fake an English accent, you know. I'm only in love with myself when I'm, for example, wearing my hair with like half a tub of gel in it, you know. I'm only in love with myself when I'm wearing like socks up to my knees and I've got an electric guitar in my hands, you know. I'm only in love with myself when I'm somebody else's dream. So definitely do not do that, because it might not look like it's like a bad thing or it's a big thing, but you could actually give away half of what you are by trying to be somebody else's portfolio, by trying to be somebody else's inspiration, and by trying to be somebody else's woman or man. So you are very, very likely, I feel here, Aquarius, to become a certain type of dreamer, and a certain type of issue arises from that. It's because you are not that. It's like you are not that which you try to be, but yet here you are trying. It is very, very easy and simple for all of us to love you anyway. It is very easy and simple for the world to look to you and applaud. It is very easy and simple for us to somehow believe you on every word, take to heart or take seriously anything you do. And it may be that you are growing through, you know, separate or just like a minuscule or a minor situation, but this can actually stay with you a lot longer than you need. But the thing is just to be you and to play you in this game of life, not to make yourself into the next, you know, punk rock cabaret act. If your music is nurturing, classical, and kind of like lullabies, you know, you can really squeeze it out of you. Like, say, you can really force yourself into a job, a situation, a genre of being, some kind of a motif in your life where you are squeezing into a group. And you can. This is a very interesting thing right now. You know, say you can dress like a punk rocker and you can squeeze into the group and nobody will actually notice that that's not who you've been and that's not who you are. That's not who you've ever been before. You know, that's not what you'll be. You know, it's not just not you. But it is very, very simple and easy to do things like that. It's also like super, super duper easy start off a project that actually does too well for you to let it go. It might be pretense later on. You might look at it and go, I can't sustain this look, or I can't sustain this type of music, or I can't be sustainably there. Or like, I've met somebody who thinks I'm a prophet, you know, like I met somebody who thinks I'm really eclectically interesting and super minded, when I actually come from a small farming village, you know, and I actually really just like nature, but this person thinks I'm the hero. And then you've got to sustain that energy throughout the relationship. So the unsustainable, it is very, very hard. The most important thing here, I feel, is not to sustain anybody else, but try to do things on your own beat. So doing things on your own beat, waking up when you want to, going off when you need to, not doing this, trying to be a little bit more you. It's like, oh, I don't want to do this, I want to do this. I don't want to do this, I want to do this. So not sustainable. What's not sustainable? Like, say, are you having an emotional affair or physical experience with somebody which you don't want? You know, can you sustain this? Is this somebody else's dream? So you're becoming, perhaps potentially here, the reflection of somebody else's dream state. And that's really, really difficult for us all, because sometimes we love you, Aquarius, for being a reflection of something else. And that becomes really, really difficult for us to then later, you know, let go of. So do not succumb to some kind of like a brand that already is and also has not had any touch with you before, as you might bring into the world something or even somebody that doesn't really have the capacity to bring back wisdom and light and love to you. So in terms of conception, now is not probably the best time. This is not also the brightest and biggest time to bring somebody up that does not need you. It's very easy to parent here another person that doesn't understand who they are. It's very, very easy to sacrifice your heart and your genuine nature and generosity towards some kind of a dance, some kind of a trauma. It's very easy to force yourself into situations where you don't need to be. It's very, very, very simple and easy here to commit to causes that have nothing to do with you and to get involved. So Aquarians, just sit there by the beach like you used to when you were 12. You know, like, where'd you go? What'd you eat? Like, what'd you have fun with? Like, what were the biggest, you know, or the terriblest things that happened to you personally? Yeah, 12th house is super, super duper packed here, but, you know, perhaps try and resolve yourself. And when you do this, you might actually come to a really nice new imagination for you and not for other people to use. So stay sovereign, Aquarius, and don't buy into anything. So yes, enjoy. Have a look at your sun, moon, ascendant, and clusters in the links below. Also, please check out my website and yes, have a look at what's next. Thank you very much and enjoy your time. Bye. Pisces, my beautiful, exciting, and serendipitous friend. Okay, so Pisces has a lot inside. And there is not actually that much outside sometimes when the inside is so full. Okay, so we got a lot inside, and we got a lot carrying on through you that we do not understand. So people can probably feel it, but you can only tell. I don't actually feel that other people really recognize or perhaps at the moment deserve to know what is actually going on. I feel that you are probably the only cooped up person, or the only strange energy, or the only strenuous energy of keeping things under wraps. It feels to me that you have almost like as if this like just a bundle of feelings, and they're all crawling inside, and you are keeping them back. And it feels to me that it's almost like a feeling of being slightly possessed, or slightly on edge, or slightly out of control, but yet almost out of control, but in control of yourself. I feel that a lot of people cannot speak to you well. It doesn't feel to me that many people understand the worth of your time. I feel that a lot of people are not quite deserving of what they have. I do agree that perhaps sometimes we do not like to admit who we are, and you're perhaps one of the very, very few dreamers out there that can actually really hold it all in. So you can control the feeling, and that's really, really hard to do. But you are sitting there perhaps at a party, or your work, or the family dinner table, perhaps not close to home, maybe just with society and with people and how they evolve outside of your directed, delicious environment. You might actually find that, yeah, okay, so nobody knows. Nobody knows, you know, nobody notices. Like somebody's crying on the inside and nobody can tell. It's like something is giving in and nobody can see. You know, somebody's taking time, you know, and you're trying to do this when they actually need it somewhere else. So you're actually the delegatory energy, the delegatory system that actually sometimes is what it takes to notice things when they're going astray. So perhaps you are one of the very, very, very few people in the company where you're working, one of the very, very few practitioners out there that could help us, you know, without really having that blinding energy which Taurus usually brings. And it feels to me that unfortunately we do not know you. And it is very, very hard to reach you. Perhaps you are creating a very privatized life, as I've talked about in the last video for April. Perhaps you have designed a very, very privatized experience. Perhaps you wanted to go more incognito with your work, or maybe you've decided to make your brand or your label or whatever you offer to us all very, very secluded. And that is very great, because sometimes, you know, to reach height and to get greater diapason with your work, especially with money and with rhythm and algorithm with people, sometimes you have to step back in order to be noticed. But this is basically it. You don't have maybe now enough strength to really protrude or to really be amongst people for too long, but here you are, and you probably have been for a long time, but here it is really, really surfacing. The only one that knows everybody and the only person that is keeping things going. And that is really, really hard, because it can feel like the engine is inside you. It's like the turning engine, the turbine is inside you, and everything else is kind of automated. It's like people are just bumping heads, they're bumping into each other, they're kind of like, woo, you know, they're flying around. But guess who's holding the power cord? You. You're holding the power cord to this. If you can see the situation that you are finally maybe reenacting here in May, you're finally doing the thing, you're finally trying that thing out, you're finally trying to meet this person, you're trying to like be that person, trying to be the star, you're trying, this is the final frontier for some of you guys. You know, you guys are going to really step up and really try to do this thing. And here you are, and you may need to have a look at how you are treating this all, because you might be like, oh, I have no idea, why is she doing this? Why is he doing this? Oh my God, this is happening again. Oh my God, they're all gonna say this. Oh my God, yeah, and this person's gonna freak out. Okay, and you are holding, it's like the emotional system for everybody, and you're like the person who is the unconscious connection to all of this. And sometimes you are the only one who can pull the plug, and this means walking out for most of you guys from situations that are just not evolving. There's like people butting heads, people like, ah, la 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 la. It's like everybody's just like a puppet, and you can see this person needs to go back to school, that person doesn't need to be there, this person is awake and they don't need the course, or like this person is not the teacher. You can see us all. You can see like, you know, like, it's like we're like swimming like sea monkeys inside water, and you are water, Pisces, and you can pull the plug. And one of the ways you can do it is start to teach somebody else what they do not understand. It's a very nice place for you here to start pulling up a couple of people in your group and telling them, hey, look, can we like go easy on George, you know, because like we're really mean to this person, okay? Like, or like, can we like make sure that this person succeeds, you know? The undercurrent, the emotional undercurrent, but be very, very, very kind. You know, if you're watching somebody and you're saying, okay, like say, I'm not the best one or the biggest one or anything. I'm not trying to be anything. But look, we're in a company of 12 people. This person has got a coke addiction, and that person's asleep half the time. Could we not manage this a little bit better? Can we like get like help for that person and maybe give this person some time on their own? Could we not just somehow tilt the collective mind here? Because you are perhaps already understanding the algorithm of everything there is, and you might already kind of understand why people are where they are and what they do and why. And you can also sit there and just be smiling and waiting, and that's probably one of the best things to do actually, is not to get involved. But it feels to me that to volunteer is sometimes the best prize. Just to know that you can. You're volunteering for something. Just to know that you can be a volunteer. Just to know that you can say that couple of words, and just to know that you can say those couple of things that perhaps will blow somebody's mind wide open. And to be that one person that perhaps doesn't really need to, but they evolve through other people's joy. That is actually quite interesting, because I feel at all Pisces lives, at least once in your life, there will be a time, hands down, or you are not just yours, you're evolving for another person's enjoyment. Or you could even evolve through a child, or you could just really, really need somebody else to say, yes, I'm doing it. And you might actually have a laugh. You'll go, wow, I stepped back and you just did it. But, you know, in a sense, perhaps it was me all along. Maybe it wasn't. So it's like bringing up the old through the new, giving somebody perhaps the rejection, just to get themselves reflecting more on them, perhaps taking another person through into the job, making sure that you're helping another person assume themselves, maybe teaching somebody like a daughter or son. It is a very, very interesting time to start structuring greater relationships at home. It's very nice to really join in, but at home, seriously, at the moment, it looks everything good. It looks like everything is fine. I think the joke is at work, and the joke is also perhaps in situations of control, even on places like the bus, you know, the subway. It might be really, really nice to tell somebody, if you see somebody who's drunk and they're vomiting on the street, you know, might be very nice to lend a helping hand to a homeless shelter. It might be very nice to help a person who cannot help themselves or who is not noticed. But in your own vicinity, in your own work, in your own stuff, like say, you know, the stuff that's going on the inside and the stuff that you see at home, it is not as bad as you think. I feel it's actually much better than you think. But the focus, I feel, is on the outside. So I feel that you are actually in a state of dream. I feel you're in a state of completion and competence. I feel that you have it. I feel that you've got a lot that another person has not ever learned. It just came to you maybe, or just put itself into the right place, into the right container, into the right capacity. Things are becoming still, things are becoming ironed out. I'm feeling that a lot of things are finally causing great result. I feel that a lot of us may not notice, but it feels to me that you are actually the world in some sense. You always are the world, Pisces, but you really are the world. And it feels to me that you also have a lot of focus within us where you probably shouldn't. But by having too much focus on people that are closest to you might not get this, but by watching others like in a larger capacity, between friends, between sisters and brothers, and people that are not quite complete with you, they're not really totally merged, you know. People that are just, you know, having fun, having friends over, in a collective, in a group, in a collective psyche. So it's like the mix and the mingle of the lollybag of people. That has to be, I feel, known, because you might also want not to involve yourself that freely with us, but always be involved. What I mean, so like Pisces looking to me like it's ready to privatize its business. It is ready to privatize and to segregate and to enjoy and to perfect and to also uplift and upmarket and upsell and upscale its presence, upsell and upscale its presence. But at the same time, it feels to me that you aren't capable of just removing yourself. So when you upscale and privatize and connect and really segregate yourself in some ways, you also have actually surprisingly way too much power and potency to just sit there by yourself. And sometimes you have to pull out a few cards for us. You might have to teach a few of us. You might have to speak to a few of us. So be the humanitarian Pisces that you are. You're in a very, very good place in the sky at the moment. You actually have a lot of force, a lot of control, and a lot of epic perhaps way with us. Injustice is very obvious to you. Please don't consider us weak and just walk away. Oh, that person's weak, you know, and you just like walk away, because you might be that later on in the year. So definitely, if it is within your control and power and focus, and if you've got like a little bit of time to spend or a little bit of something to give, it is such a nice time to consider how you can in later years maybe also be supported by the people. If you during your during your supported time can have the capacity to support someone else. Okay, so you don't have to do this all the time. It is just that it's really quick and easy for you now to see what is wrong. It's very easy for you now to teach, to heal, and to hold another person. So as it is easy for you, it shouldn't be dismay for another. You know, it's like somebody else is shaking, they're freaking out, and you have the keys, but you don't want to plug those keys in. Why is that? Because maybe you feel a bit selfish, maybe you feel a little bit gutless, or maybe you just feel like it's not up to you. But it is sometimes walking in and giving a little bit more to another will give you something later in the year. So for those of you guys who don't want to do things just because, and you're waiting for a good incentive as to why do anything, everything's already here, You know, perhaps it is nice to give for you when it's easy. So when it is not maybe as easy for you, somebody who is at ease will give to you. So thank you very much, Pisces. I hope you had fun chatting to me today. If you would like to know more about me, it's all in the caption section below. If you'd like to know more about your moon, sun, ascendant, or clusters, it's all in the caption below. Everything is in the caption below. And also check out my new book. I think you might actually appreciate it more than others. I don't know why. I think you might appreciate it. It's a very interesting book. It's a tarot book, and it's very surprising. It's kind of like a simple novel. It's like a romance novel, something that I've never done before. So if you'd like to have a look, please go ahead. And yes, if you would like to get to know me or know more about me, it's all in the caption section below as well. And whatever you do, keep yourself connected, and no trigger is for no reason. So if you get triggered, there's usually either a way of hope or a way of self discontent. So use you to give greater hope so that there is less discontent in the future years to come. Thank you very much. Enjoy your month, and I will see you next time. Love, love. Bye.